What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 332. I am your host, Ainsley Bowden, and we are here back with another Sunday full of game chatter to talk about with a guest this week as well. A guest you may recognize from just a couple weeks ago. Joining us today is our senior contributor at Season Gaming and the reviewer of Assassin's Creed Shadows for us, which released just a couple days ago, Mr. Alejandro Segovia. How we doing, my friend?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me again. Glad to see Ho, glad to see Ains, and also glad to see Travis, who I haven't podcasted with for like 2 years now, I think. So,
for a reason.
See you. Yeah.
Travis has been actively avoiding you. That's what he tells me in the DMs anyway. So,
right. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Travis, fresh off GDC that we're going to talk about today as well, which I'm sure was a whirlwind. I saw some really, really cool updates from GDC this year. But how are you doing, my man?
Doing good. Avoided one episode. I actually planned my entire honeymoon just to avoid that episode with Alex. So this really backfired. But yeah, I had an awesome GDC. Absolutely amazing. A lot of it I can't talk about yet in terms of content, but I can tell you some fun stuff that happened. And it was just nice to see the industry and my friends, and it was cool. It was fun.
Nice.
Good times.
Nice. Yeah, we'll talk a little more about it, and hopefully I can join you at some point here in the future. But for now, I'm going to introduce, you know him as the lawman, Mr. Hoaglaw. How we doing?
I'm good. I don't know if anybody on earth knows me as the lawman, but I appreciate the effort, Ains.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying to get it to stick. It's not working so far, but we'll get there eventually. Also, you're zoomed in today, man. You just get right up on the screen with us.
Well, I didn't want to pull a Travis and delay the show, but my camera thinks it's closer than it is today. I don't know why.
Fair enough. Alex basically matches you, so you're good to go. Yeah. What'd you say, Travis?
I've got a new mic arm. That was the problem. My mic arm has like a XLR cable that goes through it, and that cable got funky. So I had to get a new mic arm. But it's nice. I like this one.
Okay.
So it's
better than mine, where like this is balanced. It's broken. So if this is balanced, so if I just move it this way, it'll fall all the way down on its own. So I have to like hold it in place.
Janky setups, dude.
Yeah, it's great.
I've got the jankiest of setups. But.
If it makes you feel better, Travis, the chat says Ains's mic sounds terrible. So hey,
that's fair.
Oh no,
I think that's just his voice.
Oh. Sorry, all. Let me check. Yeah, it's coming through my headset.
Law.
Oh, hello.
Oh my god.
Oh, so much better.
Going from mono to 5.1 surround.
Yeah, sorry guys. Apologies, audio listeners in particular. We keep killing our audio listeners. We gotta.
Dude. And here. Before the show, Ains was eating a candy, or I don't know what he was eating.
It was not candy.
What was it? Breakfast bar?
It's certainly a protein bar.
It's a protein bar.
Dude, he was eating something on the loudest rapper, and we were all listening to it through that mic. Like the worst mic he could have made us listen to it.
So sorry.
Very sorry.
We're off to a good start as always. First time podcasting, guys. I'll get there. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about a lot of the spring games coming. It feels like games have not slowed down, because really they haven't. We have a ton of huge releases right now that we're actively playing, but we have a ton more releases literally about to release as well. A whole bunch of good games. So we're going to be talking about First Berzerker Khazan, South of Midnight going gold, Expedition 33 going gold, Atomfall is releases this week as well. So we've got a lot to talk about, and we all have kind of we have a lot of hands-on time with all the games I just mentioned, actually. So we'll touch on some of that. We've got Xbox and Steam kind of leak happening. We're going to talk a little bit about that from a hardware perspective. GDC, as I said, and the Future Gaming Show happened this week too, with a whole bunch of interesting-looking games, and touch on some of those anyway. So, but before we get into that, let's go ahead and get caught up on Super Chats and the generosity from our community, beginning, of course, with the shout-out to Vintage Willow, who is back this week live with us. She caught up with us post-show last week and Super Chatted after the show was live. So this week, gifting 5 Season Gaming memberships. Willow, as always, we say pretty much every week, thank you for the generosity. Super, super appreciate it. Excuse me. Googleman.
Googleman81 offers 10 euros and writes, apart from resource constraints, is there an argument for artifice in video games? Just ran up the same tree for map discovery a dozen times in Assassin's Creed Shadows. Uh-oh.
Oh, what?
Resource? No, I'm just the idea of running up the same tree for map discovery a dozen times sounds not super fun.
There's a lot of repeat environments in Shadows. Let's just say that.
Oh, okay. I've only done the prologue, so I haven't seen enough of it to comment, really.
Same.
Well, we're going to get into Shadows, so we'll have Alex talk a lot more about that because
we're going to get into the Shadows.
70 hours.
What we do in the Shadows, actually. About 70 hours now. Yeah. Okay. Googleman, thank you as always, and we'll get into Shadows here shortly. Appreciate you. Don Lionheart, who is this guy? Never heard of him.
Don Lionheart gives us $5 and writes, "Good morning, all. Back from a week in Vegas, minus a one-day sojourn to Travis's wacky California. A lot of love, but missed games. DTW equals nice airport. I believe that's the Detroit.
That would be Detroit, airport. Wayne County. Yes.
Yes.
Things that weren't said only a few years ago, but I'm glad you liked it, Don.
That's very similar to Kansas City. We just built our new airport last year.
I will say a lot of airports have gotten a lot better in recent years. I used to travel a lot in my 20s, and I would say 80% of airports were terrible, and that has changed quite a bit. Although some are still, I don't know, like Austin's airport. I'm really surprised Austin doesn't have a better airport after all these years. But anyway, my travel. Yeah. That's my travel commentary this day.
Good to have you back, Don. He was in Vegas. I was very jealous because I love Vegas, but good to have you back.
Oh my God.
I love Vegas. Yeah.
World's worst lore dump. Why do you love Vegas, Haynes?
Because I played poker like daily, man, like almost professionally. So I love going to Vegas. I love gambling.
You just like card games, and
I'm not a degenerate gambler, but
Travis, people do like places outside of San Francisco.
Yeah, but have you been to Vegas? It's just a big.
I've been to Vegas.
Dirty strip in the desert, times. Bro.
It is not a dirty strip. God. You need to go back to Vegas.
I've been to Vegas a lot. It's like I could drive to Vegas from my house. It's not.
I know you can. So could I.
To be fair, it's not really my kind of place. I mean, it's got all the things I don't care about. I don't drink. Gambling is not.
So it's not Vegas. The problem. It's you.
I mean, if
that's really what Travis carries with him to all his locations.
Yeah. Vegas is not for me, but also I just look at it and I'm like, this is a big pile of garbage in the desert. I don't know why anybody spend their time here. So.
But Travis, they'll send you to Icon next year. E3 2.0.
Yeah, I'm sure. I will say they do have an enormous convention center. I go there a lot for work, so maybe that's a bad association.
Yeah. See, Squirrel likes Vegas. Go on, Squirrel. Tell him.
I mean, lots of people like Vegas. It's just
See, we got him all the way down to lots of people like Vegas. When Ains said he liked Vegas, Travis, you acted like it was the strangest opinion in history.
It's one of those things that lots of people like and lots of people are wrong about, which is pretty common. So it's fine. Gotcha. You can like it, but I think it's because you're drunk. That's why I think you like it.
We're not talking about Shadows yet.
Uh-oh.
There you go.
Don with a follow-up super chat.
Don Lionheart gives $2 and writes, "The seasoned gaming Monster Hunter squad seems dead. Single tier. What happened?"
Yeah, there's too many games. Yeah, we're all playing other games right now. That's the problem. And we're doing a lot of coverage. So everyone at SG is like playing something else.
I literally don't know how to use the Monster Hunter squad. I'm in it. I play Monster Hunter. I've never seen any of you in game. I don't know how to make that happen.
Yeah, Japanese online games have it's mandatory. They're required to make the internet obtuse.
As cumbersome
you
as
have
possible.
To take a class, yeah.
And there's like 4 different lobbies in this game, so
it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I was playing with 2 guys who, have thousands of hours in Monster Hunter. They're like, wait, I think it works this way. No, maybe you have to do this. And I'm like, exactly. Yeah, this is a problem. So, Don, thank you as always. And Tao with a member comment.
Tao Zochi has been a member for 28 months. That's over 2 years. He writes, "Sup chat, sup bitcasters, play 33 Immortals for the frustration and joys of raid mechanics with randos. Makes me want to go back to WoW almost. Foodcast."
I can honestly say, having popped my head in to look at that game, it is one of the few that people are excited about that I have absolutely no interest in.
it is we were talking about this in our Discord yesterday. Tal was it is a game that requires coordination with other people, and so you're going to have to probably find that right community or friends to play that with.
Yeah,
all 33 of them.
That's one of those games I feel like I've been burned before playing preview games and then find out that the game actually is good, and I just got a bad impression of it because I played it in preview. So now, whenever possible, I do not play a preview game. I just wait for it to come out. This is one of those games. I'm just going to wait for it to go. Because like Grounded's one of those games I played in preview, and I was like, oh, this game's not good. And then it came out, and I was like, oh, this is one of my favorite games. So I just don't want to...
In fairness, it wasn't good for a good long time. Even when it came out, it wasn't great.
Grounded?
When it came out?
When it came out in 1.0, it was very good.
I think you might be talking about
Host talking about early access.
Early access, the preview version. Yeah, it was not.
To Hoag's point, I think 1.0 was like a year later or something, right? Like it was
more
decent.
No, it was more than a year. Yeah, because I reviewed it when it got to 1.0, and it was very good by that point. But I had not played it for at least 2 years, and it just got good during that period. And so, I play a lot of games early, and now if I can avoid doing that for certain games, then I take the opportunity.
I get it. Yeah, you're talking about early access. I thought you were talking about preview time. Again,
gotcha,
as a guy that isn't getting IGN previews sent to his inbox, early access release is out for me.
Yeah, I saw 33 Immortals with the little preview logo on Xbox, and I was like, I'm not playing it.
Yep.
Not doing it. I'm just going to wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that one does interest me, but I don't want to. It's probably not good yet, so I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah, they've done a bunch of like betas for it too. It's been played several times leading up to this point, but it's still in preview as of this moment. So it's kind of a unique concept, not unique, but a different type of concept. So it's probably good to get more time and people kind of playing around with it. So excuse me. Thank you very much, everyone. And of course, we have Tide's picks, which I forgot to upload. We'll get to. But Travis, before we get to Tide's picks, you had a lore dump you wanted to share.
Yes. Do folks have interesting middle names? Is my lore dump question. Maybe a little boring, but I just want to know what y'all middle names are.
I think you have to offer one to get one, Travis.
Okay, I'll tell you my middle name. My
middle name, intended, not a random middle name.
Yes. So I have my middle name situation is very weird, which is that my parents did. We're not on traditional speaking terms when I was born. So they had a miscommunication about what my middle name was. And I was given 2 different middle names. On my birth certificate, my middle name was Jacob. And on my social security card, my middle name was James. This was a problem. It made a lot of issues. And then when I was a teenager, I had to go through a process of changing my name, and I picked the one that was the easiest to change, which was the one on my social security card. Sorry, I got it backwards. The one on my social security card was Jacob. So my middle name is officially Jacob. If I could have picked, I probably would have kept James, but it was just easier to change it to Jacob, and I really don't care. That also means that I am a TJ technically. It's important to note no one has ever called me TJ because I am nowhere near cool enough to be known as a TJ. I've never ridden a skateboard. I don't have my hat backwards. I'm just not cool. And so friends noted that my initials were TJ and then went with, I think we're going to call you Travis. I was like, yeah, that checks out.
For the record, in Hoag House, TJ is not a cool appellation. It is a shortening of Trader Joe's. So there you go.
TJs. Usually you put an S when it's the Trader Joe's. But yeah, I don't know. I grew up in the 90s, so TJ would have been a cool name back then, but I was not. You
had the opportunity.
I did not qualify as a cool person, so I'm not a TJ. That's me.
It's a solid lordom.
Yeah. I want to see on IGN TJ Northup under your review.
TJ Northup, what's up? Or I could just shorten it to North, TJ North. That kind of sounds
TJ North. That's a good stage name right there. Yeah.
TJ North, bro. What's up?
Yeah.
Well, no,
sounds like a porn star, honestly. Like a porn star.
TJ North, straight out of San Fran.
That would also be a good. I want to know what your middle name is, and then once you tell us your middle name, we'll come up with your porn star name.
I do not accept your terms.
You're not going to be able to make one of mine, I promise.
No, I already got yours. You're Ainsley Bonin. Easy.
God damn.
Give me a real challenge. Come on. All right, Hogue. What's your Lord?
Oh,
Give me your
go.
middle name, buddy.
My
What do you
middle
got?
name is in honor of my now departed grandfather, Travis. So, watch
Nice.
yourself. But
Yeah.
it is Donald.
Donald. Nice.
Oh,
So that explains why you never wear pants on this podcast. He's
Well, that's
Donald.
just the way
Duck,
I
for those
operate
who are
on
wondering.
YouTube.
Yeah. It's just
Pants are
YouTube.
unnecessary. And in fact,
Got it.
constricting.
So you are Richard Donald Hogue.
I
Nice.
am. And I even innately respond to that full use of my name as like, I'm in trouble. So there you
Oh,
go.
Nice. Nice.
now we know what are
Have
the
you ever
red
gone by
words.
Don?
I have not.
Don. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Don Ho.
Don or Donnie would be
I
pretty
did have
good
a
if you were a little
client that only
shadier.
called me Dick. But, hey, what are you going to
A
do?
friend who only called you what?
Dickie,
Yeah.
a client.
A Dickie.
Dickie.
Here's the thing. For clients, it's like you can
Yeah,
call
for
me
Rick.
whatever version of my name gets my attention. You're
Mhm.
a client.
Okay, well, your
Okay.
nickname is your porn star name is Dickie Don for sure. Alex, what's your middle name?
What about Dickie Hogue?
Yeah.
Dickie Hogue? I don't know. It's not really sexy, dude.
Yeah.
All right, Alex,
My
what's your
actual-
middle- give us
yeah,
all of your middle names.
Yeah, like just my actual only middle name is Alejandro because my first name is Alfredo.
I see
Because-
why you chose the middle name.
Yeah, it's because Alfredo makes me feel old. And there's like 3 Alfredos in my house. So I'm like, well, technically
This
2.
is your house.
Yeah, yeah, like me and my dad. But then I was like my grandfather.
Oh,
that-
you're a
R.I.P.
junior.
Yeah, I'm a junior, so it's like
Okay.
that's not common here. So if you have the same name, like here in El Salvador, like usually then the younger one goes by the middle name just for like separation. And I like Alejandro. It's a Lady
Yeah.
Gaga song. So
Yeah, your porn star name is definitely Fredo, no last name. Ains, your
Just
turn.
Fredo, one word.
Yeah,
By the way,
yeah.
Gentle Stone says Hogue should be Ricky Dicky. Reverse that and be
would be
Dicky
pretty good.
Ricky.
Dickie
Dicky
Ricky.
Ricky.
Yeah, it'd be pretty
Yeah.
good. I like it.
My middle name is my middle name is Winston. That is
Nice.
true.
you look
It
like
is-
Winston.
I am named.
Really?
I think for those who have listened for a long time, my parents are old English people. My whole family's English, and my dad was older when he had me. He was literally born at the start of World War II, 1939. So he named me after Winston Churchill, who was his idol. And there you go. There's not much else to say
Pretty
about
good.
that.
Pretty classic name. Well, you were like embarrassed before the show, and I said the Lord was going to be because you don't want to.
Oh, dude, Winston was terrible growing up. I mean, if you're a kid in
Really?
the 80s, Winston was not a great name to have. Or for
Oh,
Black
Winston's
Ghostbuster.
cool.
yeah. Ghostbusters is not what was considered necessarily cool in school, Hogue. Not the
Weird.
schools I went
We
to.
went to school in a different 80s.
Yeah, we really
we went
did.
to school in a different zip code, is what we went
Fair.
to.
Right, because you were in the East Coast. Is the East Coast
Yeah.
not cool?
It depends where you live on the East Coast. It's a big place. But where I went to school was a little rougher. Winston was not considered a cool name.
I had a toy proton pack, man. I was the coolest.
Oh, I love Ghostbusters. I did. I'm not talking about me. It's the people who did not like me.
Cats,
Makes
dogs living
sense.
together.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for us to talk about the schools we went to. I bet we had very different experiences there.
I think Travis and I are going to have very different experiences.
I
Well, we
went to-
both went to rough schools, but very different types of rough. That's for sure.
I went to
Yeah.
Christian school, so you can imagine.
Oh boy. So did my wife.
Isn't that
She went-
standard in El Salvador? Like,
Not really.
no?
So,
Oh,
mhm.
They're
Okay,
all
that makes
Christian schools.
yeah.
No. Yeah, my wife went to a Catholic school, and so sometimes I see gaps in her knowledge that are very funny to me. I'm like, oh, they didn't teach you about that, did they? They didn't go into that territory. Very funny.
Googleman says, I thought you were Irish, Ains. No, actually, I am English, Scottish, and Welsh. Irish is the only thing I don't have in my UK bloodline.
Nice.
Or very little. I mean,
You
there's
don't look English to
it's a
me.
mutt in the UK, but
If you had
What's that?
Irish,
You don't really
you
look
had hair.
English to me. You look pretty. I don't know.
English, I'm pale and pink with blue eyes. I mean, I don't know what you're expecting.
You just look a little more American to me. I can see.
mean,
I can see
That checks
American.
out. There's some
I can see-
history there that came together.
I can see America wherever I go. When I was in Tokyo, I would like people that were Japanese who I immediately was like, yeah, they're American. I would go up to them and speak English, and they'd be like, oh, hey, what's up? And I'd be like, aha, knew it. I can spot an American.
Were they American or did they go to college in America?
They were American. They were from I can't remember, some town in California that I had never heard of, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And they opened a bar in Tokyo, and D and I went to their bar. So yeah, I can spot an American. It's my superpower.
All right. Well, that's a kind of power, I guess.
It's pretty cool.
Oh my God. All right. Well, there's your lore dump for today. That was Travis's idea today. I don't even know how we first came up with that. I think I asked what your middle names were, and you said save it for lore dumps. So
yeah, I said save it for lore dump. It's a good one.
Yeah,
I should probably prepare my lore dumps, but sometimes when nature calls, you're never prepared for the dump. It just comes randomly.
You just go with the flow.
And of course, just before we get into the game chatter, excuse me, I literally broke for a second.
God damn it.
You derailed us.
We got Tide Speaks as well.
Somebody in the comments made a TJ account and is now commenting as TJ, the cool Travis. So I'm very upset.
Oh shit, I didn't see that. Sorry. That was very fast. Wow.
It was really quick. Good on them.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's get that one out of the way.
I believe they're using my cyberpunk photo from one of the.
They are.
the cool That's really good.
Well played.
Nice.
Well played.
Nice. Yeah, dude. Cyberpunk me would definitely bully like regular me for sure.
This is a super. You have to read this, my friend.
Oh, sorry. It is a super chat. TJ, my cool alter ego, offers €2. So he's also in he plays synth in a Euro band. He says, "What's up, dudes? Who's the dork on the bottom left? No question mark. Very highly educated version of me. Very cool."
It's TJ's alter ego, the one
very excited for my Euro trash band that I'm a part of in this.
That's awesome.
This alternate reality. Very sweet.
I love it. I love it. Well played, whoever you are. Winston approves. Good job.
Winston approves.
And we've got Tide's picks, of course, this week. Which, Tide, I'm going to need your help because I don't know what's being referenced here, but we look adorable.
We do look adorable.
Nice.
Puppies. Who doesn't love puppies?
Dogs. Oh boy, you guys dog people?
Yeah, I have 2 dogs. Yep. I'm a dog. I'm just an animal person. I have a cat and dogs.
Nice.
We have bearded dragons in our house.
Nice bearded dragons. My wife loves those. We do not have animals. I'm not a big animal person myself. Don't care for them, but I'm sure we'll probably have a dog at some point because Dee is very much an animal person.
Travis, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Looking at these pictures and knowing your reactions to them.
Yeah.
You think Tide is telling the AI to make your hair redder and redder as we go along?
I take it as this one vintage-ified, and I think I don't know why, but for some reason that makes me more okay with the red hair and what it's doing. But
all right,
I think they're definitely putting the AI, the fanfic version of Hogue every single time. I think
he looks like the all-American dad.
Whoever's running these through AI, it has a crush on you and is definitely leaning hard on that AI.
The comment, Freight Conductor said Travis looks like TJ's first victim in that picture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I look like I'm going to be on the back of a milk carton for sure. I was buried under the railroad tracks so that they would never find me. Because look what they did to Ains. They made Ains look like a kid, right? Which
I've got the rosy cheeks. I don't even have a headset this week.
I don't
look at that.
I don't think you have childlike features, and they went out of the way to add them. And then Hogue, they were like, no, we're gonna make him a zaddy yet again.
Yeah.
So I don't trust whatever process this AI is being taught. I think it has been trained to make Hogue a certified DILF. I'm not opposed to it, but it's very odd, and I'm on to you.
I have questions about who's doing the certification of these things, but
yeah.
Oh, it's National Puppy Day today. There you go.
Puppy
That's what
Day.
Tide said. National Puppy Day.
Find
there
a
you go.
puppy near you, friends.
All right. Thank you, Tide, as always. Appreciate you. And shout out to Ash Axiom, who's back gifting a membership on both sides of the house. Thank you, as always, Ash. Appreciate that. Very generous. Awesome community, guys. Thanks for kicking us off with a whole bunch of funny things and generosity this morning. So let's get into some game chatter. There's a vicious rumor going around that that's what we're here for.
Yeah, boy.
Assassin's Creed Shadows is here. We've talked a lot about this game. It got delayed a couple times in minor stretches. It's finally here. Alex reviewed it. It seems to be, at least out of the gate, it's very early because it just came out Friday. Seems to be selling well. It did 2 million in 2 days. So we joked, or not joked, but we talked before around Ubisoft and their troubles and Shadows not being able to fix them regardless of how well it sells. But all of that aside, Alex, you gave the game an 8. You put nearly 70 hours in it for review. Bravo, my friend. He did roll credits before the review, which was a grind, as we know.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a bunch of people who were also reviewing this game. And generally, and Hogue, I know you're here, so you can feel free to counter when you're ready. But generally, everyone I've spoken to is really loving this game. In fact,
why do you always think I have something to counter?
You just made a snide comment about Shadows earlier while we were talking in the intro.
I did.
See, it's not unfounded. But I know, Alex, you said for you, and you've done an Assassin's Creed ranking series wide. You said this is top 5 for you. I know that I spoke to Luke and Joe, who both said this is top 5 for them as well in terms of AC. I only finished the prologue, so I can't speak. I liked what I've played so far. But
for the record, folks, when Ain says he's only finished the prologue, that is multiple hours of interaction.
Couple hours, yeah. I just wanted to check it out. As usual, I try to at least have played something before we talk about it. But Alex, talk to us, man. You got nearly 70 hours in this game. You gave it an 8. You were up and down a little bit. You were down a little bit early, but then you said it got really good. And so walk us through it.
It was a roller coaster, if you remember our SG chat.
Yes.
During that period. So obviously, kind of like it's very hard to approach this game not thinking about both the weight Ubisoft is putting into this game, the unnecessarily like bad faith controversy that has kind of like surrounded it. For the review, I tried to kind of separate that, and I just wanted to approach it as like, okay, I'm a longtime Assassin's Creed fan. It's been 5 years since the last full mainline entry, ignoring Mirage, which was a DLC turned into a game for financial reasons because they needed a game out at that point. And kind of like my approach was, okay, when they unveiled both Shadows alongside the Infinity project, they said that this was going to be like a new approach in how they design games. And this was going to be the third era of the franchise. So I was like, okay, the last time they made a change was Origins back in 2017. So it's been 5 years. I think it's pretty reasonable to think, okay, they took so long. Maybe they really rethought things. They really rethought their way of how they made their games. This is probably going to be like a massive change. So when I started it, I was like, the first thing that hit me was like, this is still like the RPG entries that of the last 3, like Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. And it still uses those same bones. And the thing that really annoyed me early on was that the way they sold this game as a dual protagonist tale, kind of a lie at first, because it was like, you're gonna say?
Yeah, no, I want to jump in on that because that was one of the things that I had marked down is that Yosuke is not real, folks. This is Naoi's game.
Yeah.
And any indication that it's not is essentially a fib at best from Ubisoft. I don't know why exactly.
Early to clarify. You can't talk definitively about the whole game.
I got Yosuke 21 hours of play.
21 hours it's not 25% of the game. So you're still early.
I'm just telling you, it's not Yosuke's game, either in gameplay or game narrative.
Why don't you let the person who's finished the game talk about it?
I thought I was here to talk about the game.
No,
I will shut up.
Wait, no. You're speaking definitively that Yosuke doesn't play a part in the game. You haven't finished the game. You can't speak like that.
I'm telling you how Yosuke operates in the game. He doesn't get the full assassin set. He's not an assassin. He's not running the organization. His story is baked on in order to keep things from you early on in the game. It adds clunk to the narrative. And I feel like I can speak to these things. I've played it for almost a full calendar day in the 3 days it's been out.
I think saying Yosuke doesn't play an important part of the story is a mistake to say when you haven't finished a third of the story.
I didn't say he didn't play an important part. I said he adds clunk to the storytelling because they give the assassin's background to him, and it makes the entry into the assassin organization running very clunky, even as compared to something like Mirage.
Okay.
Yeah. To kind of like add to Hope's point, like obviously, like because when you start a game, you start playing as Yasuke, but for like 10, 15 minutes.
Yes.
I remember talking with my buddy Paul, and he likened it to like that moment in The Force Unleashed where you're playing as Darth Vader and just wreaking havoc initially. It starts like that, and then you're stuck with Naue for like a good, if you're not doing everything, USF says around 8 to 12 hours. They said like approximately, but depending on how you're playing, if you're completion, it could take much longer. It does feel like Naue is the protagonist that they wanted to like really focus on in this game. And so me, when I know how they were promoting it and me playing it, like in those early hours, I was like, where's Yasuke? Like you guys said that this was a dual protagonist. Like he's gonna be the combat guy, and he's gonna be the stealth girl. And I was like, where is he? And that kept bugging me, on top of the fact that then when you're out in the open world, I feel like they have made a really beautiful rendition of Japan, but it feels like a pain to navigate at first. Because unlike the last 3 RPG Assassin's Creed games where you probably see like a question mark and be like, I'm just gonna like walk straight through. There's no mountain that can stop me. I'm gonna be able to climb everything. In this one, like the big mountains of Japan, you're constantly sliding down. I'm like, that feels weird because like, aren't you supposed to be able to climb like even the most minimal slopes? And because I tend to also be a completionist goblin, like early on, I was like, okay, I see that they're giving me an objective, but I see all these question marks on the way there. I'm gonna unlock everything. I'm gonna go do the map synchronization and everything. So, butting into all of that early on, I was like, I feel there's something off because like the world felt empty. It was clunkier to navigate. It was not the game that they had initially sold it as, and that's why in that first day when I played, I was like, man, I'm kind of heartbroken that I'm not loving this. I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan, and I played for like a good 7-8 hours just kind of doing all of that until I was like, maybe I'm doing something wrong. And then I went straight finally to like the objective, which was when they send you to the villa. And as soon as you get into the villa, they give you the objective tab, and then suddenly the world popped up with activities. I was like, oh, here are the side quests. Okay, let me do one. Oh, cool. They're doing the Odyssey style side quests, where it's like compared to like Valhalla, which were world events, you kind of went there and just did something quick and got out. And obviously, this was made by the Odyssey team, so some of these side quests had like multiple tiers to them, had like some good writing into it. The first one that I did about, I'll just say it's about a dog. I found it pretty touching. I was like, oh, cool. It's like there's some really cool writing here. But then until I finally got to the point where Yasuke kind of comes into the story, even though he's not like the center of focus initially, I felt like it moved away a little bit from just being another revenge tale in the Assassin's Creed franchise. Like now a story, basically you've seen it before in previous entries. Like, oh, a big tragedy happened. That's kind of like her motivation to go for the targets. In this case, they're called the Shinbakufu. But then once Yasuke kind of comes in, though he's not the main focus, I feel like the best layers of the story are kind of like in his side. Like they have tied in a lot of like and some people were arguing otherwise because we had a big conversation with Elu recently in our chat, and that they have probably taken a few liberties on his real life origin story, but I kind of like how they're trying to contextualize his real life origin into like the larger Assassin's Creed lore, not just the anime, but kind of like the Assassins versus Templar thing. And I find that really fascinating because I feel like the best writing of the game is on his side. He has layers that I feel he adds a heart to the story that you usually don't see now. And now is when she's by herself, she feels very like one note and very kind of like focused on what she wants. And I was like, okay, she's fine. Like I enjoy her, but it's like I feel like I played this before. But then when she starts interacting with Yasuke, the few times they do, and then when you start focusing more on Yasuke, I was like, I'm starting to see the thing that starts clicking in this game. And while like just targeting all the assassins, like not too much that you can think of like any different from what you expect of just hunting these targets. This story kind of like surrounding that is actually pretty cool, and it led to like a very solid ending for Assassin's Creed standards for these characters. That's how I ended up landing at an 8, because it was tumultuous, but I felt the story really carried it like near the end. So
I've heard from you. I actually heard from pretty much everyone who's finished the game that Yasuke's story by the end was the one that meant a lot more to them than.
Yes,
I have no doubt that Yasuke's story is the better one. It's because they gave all the background stuff that would ordinarily be in Naue's storyline to a different character. It's an artificial split is what I'm saying. I'm not saying Yasuke is pointless. I like Yasuke, but he's not an assassin. He plays very differently, and he isn't as good of a use of the systems that they've built in this game as Nawe is. And they took off what would ordinarily be the why am I an assassin? What in the hell am I doing? Part away from Nawe, creating a very weird beginning, and essentially gave it to Yasuke in his background. So that's what I mean by this. And by the way, Ains, before you jump on me, I love this game. I probably love it more than Alex. I lean towards a 9 over an 8, and I liked it from moment one, really, in the open world. I think this is an evolution of what was the RPG systems. I missed originally my Ghost Recon Eagle friend because he doesn't exist anymore. But you really have to focus on the Eagle Vision and what they call observation mode, which is holding the trigger and looking at various things and hearing them and spotting treasures and whatnot. But this game, in terms of production values, is second to none. It is gorgeous. Yes. The sound environment is fantastic. Like, I'm playing in surround sound, and they have rain come down off the leaves of the trees, and you feel the summer, you feel the wind in the fall, you feel the crunch of the snow in the winter. In terms of money on the screen, it is there for this game. My complaints are primarily around kind of the edges. I think they have some interface problems, upgrading things on your person. They don't show you what's equipped, things like that, little things that are weird to overlook in a game of this caliber, but are certainly overlooked. I have an issue with the narrative and the plotting because Nawe's story takes over Act 1, and it doesn't really explain why she's doing what she's doing or how she gets the backing of the people that she gets. She's putting together a crew, but she's not doing it for any particular reason that would make sense to all these people that she's gathering. So it's really, really clunky at the beginning. And I think that's because they separate off the plot into Yasuke. But I think the Yasuke-Nawe split is a mistake. I really like Yasuke as a character, but having a samurai in this particular game with the systems that you built, the controls that you built, doesn't work. It's certainly not as satisfying as something like Tsushima. And so it feels like a fail state when Nawe is sitting over there doing all the things with all the systems, with Eagle Vision and everything else.
Yeah. I called it in my review.
Sorry, Alex. I was just going to say, and I don't have enough time to speak on it. I know in the producer demonstration, Hogue, what they were going for, whether it works or not, what they were going for is allowing players to play this game in two different ways, right? If you want to use the kind of big strength attack guy, right? You play Yasuke and you can kind of run through doors and you can kind of just burst your way through enemies. And then if you want to play your traditional kind of shinobi assassin hiding in the shadows, you can play Nawe. That's what they were going for.
Yeah,
whether or not
I understand what they're
is,
going for, but like, look at the systems that they built, the actual game engine that they're running, the tools that they give you, and the systems that operate it are for Nawe. Like, Yasuke feels like a dumber, simpler Nawe, and he doesn't get enough changes to make it make sense. Like, you feel dumb to play as Yahweh, as
Yahweh.
As Yahweh.
Jesus.
I heard he gets all the abilities.
Look, it makes sense. It is Assassin's Creed, so they've got a lot of.
I mean, there's a lot of Christians in this game too.
And I really love this. I really love this game. I've really enjoyed it. I've played it a ton over the 3 days it's been out. But Yasuke seems like an error in design at like first principles, first day one whiteboard type error in design.
Yeah. I call it, and to your point, it's kind of like on paper, what they were trying to go kind of sounds cool, but in execution is kind of wanting because it really like made like a very lopsided like comparison between the two, because in Nawe you do the basic like Assassin's Creed loop, stealth, parkour, and combat. With Yasuke, it's only combat. With Yasuke, you can barely climb, and you can slightly climb some stuff, but you like if you just want to mainly play as Yasuke, you're like depriving yourself from like even a lot of the content of the game. Like, you won't be able to do all the map synchronizations because it's too tall for him. Like, you won't be able to stealth with him because the only way that he stealths is doing a very brutal, loud assassination that sometimes some enemies won't hear because the enemy AI of Assassin's Creed can sometimes be dumb, but it's like, it's very clear that you're not meant to do the rest of kind of like the gameplay loop that you're used to with Assassin's Creed, like as easily as you can with Nawe. And in my review,
flat out block you in places.
Yeah.
Like, we need Nawe for this. It's like, all right.
Exactly. He literally said, "Oh yeah, now we'll take care of her." And yes, it's easy to change characters, but I feel like the monkey paw scenario for me is the fact that the more I started to play with Yasuke, even just interacting with the world and the cycle, seeing his side, he was just a more compelling character. I was like, I like this guy. I like role playing with this guy. I like how the world reacts to him when you're kind of just walking in the towns and you kind of see like he's just like a mountain of man. Like they made him huge.
He's
and
like
I
running
love
a
how
linebacker through everybody. Yeah,
exactly. And I even like that sometimes like that if you're in a place where you're not and you're asked to comply like with the enemies and you comply like respectfully, they're like, oh, okay, thank you. So like even the soldiers are scared of him. I like how they like made him feel in the world. But then I'm like, I also like playing an Assassin's Creed game. And I feel like the only way I can do that is with Naue. And I feel that just kind of creates an imbalance that the last game that Quebec tried with a dual protagonist, which was Syndicate, I felt at least that game, like if you're deciding to mainly play with one or the other, besides just story missions, so that you're locked in one, I felt like you were not deprived from being able to do the Assassin's Creed stuff that you're used to. In this game, you're literally depriving yourself if you're just playing as Yasuke. But he's such a compelling character, you kind of want to. And it makes you hate yourself because I'm like, oh, I know I'm literally gimping myself playing as him. And I feel they could have tweaked it a little bit more. I've been talking with some friends, like maybe give him eagle vision. He doesn't even have eagle vision to be able to attack anyone. Maybe
I don't know why they took eagle vision. Yeah,
exactly. So maybe you could do his assassination is not allowed that he's exactly, because they really wanted to be like, no, he's a samurai. Samurais are more like they like confronting things head on and all that. I'm like, yeah, I kind of get that, but it's like you're trying to put that in an Assassin's Creed game where you're used to do some things, certain things gameplay wise, and again, it's
so
like,
can
it's
I
just
be?
Like
Sorry, Alec, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so can I play devil's advocate for a second? So what I'm hearing from you guys, again, I'm not far enough to speak on it, but I know I was talking to Bacon over at Nerd Chat. We have a chat we're talking about this game, and he mentioned that he's going to do everything he can with Yasuke because he likes the ability of not having to worry about the Assassin's Creed shit, to quote him.
Yeah.
So obviously, to your guys' point, Assassin's Creed game, you have expectations of what that means.
It's not just expectations; it's the way they made their game.
Yeah,
right?
Understood.
No, I'm saying all I'm jumping in to say is that Yasuke, you can absolutely play as Yasuke, but you are lowering your own experience of the game because it's not built to be just clunking around with your holding the heavy attack button. It's not as compelling as something like Tsushima.
Fair, yeah. I was just going to say that to him, having a character in this game to still be able to experience, I guess, this world or story, whatever you want to put it, where he can just play it like an action game more, he enjoyed. So it sounds to me from the way you guys are describing it, I get exactly what you're saying. You basically, you don't get the Assassin's Creed part of the game when you're playing as Yasuke, and I get that.
I guess I'm adding it's not a great action game. Like Assassin's Creed has never been, but it's not a great plow forward and kill people in a hallway type game.
Yeah,
okay.
There are better ones.
But it sounds like they gave you the option, right? So
but the other aspect of this that is a problem is that Naue, she can kill some folks, man. She is not a weakling that only needs to use stealth. So
in my counter, I felt early on she was. I did not like her combat initially, especially like in that training area when you're murking people as Yasuke and then immediately you switch as her. I was like, oh my god, she feels really weak. Like in Yasuke, you can like bring down enemies in like 1 or 2 swipes in normal difficulty, and then with her it's like, oh, she takes a little bit more hits to kill an enemy. Oh, she can go down in like 2 or 3 hits. Okay, it's understandable that maybe the focus here is because she's your stealth character, so you need to like not really engage in combat much. Sometimes the game will force combat in you as Naue, and early on before upgrades, I was like, I don't like you. I was like, I like you at least in combat. I love you in stealth, especially when you enable guaranteed assassinations and options. I was like, I do love how she moves. I love how quick she is. I think she slinks around really like in a really fun way, like in the bases when you're just trying to like clear everything in a stealthy way. I like you there. But in combat, I was like, no, I don't like you. And I feel like more than 2 enemies, you could go down really quickly. But then once you upgrade her, I'm like, okay. So even then, like when you would even think, okay, you don't necessarily want to engage with combat with her because there's the combat guy over there. But with upgrades, then you can. Then it's like, what's the purpose of Yasuke? Kind of like, at least from a holistic angle, if then she eventually can even hold her own. So And to Hope's point, like as an action game, it's pretty simple. Like there's no combos that you really do. It's like the enemies can go down, at least in normal difficulty. They haven't tested expert, but maybe that makes it more fun in the combat. But it's like, I wish there was more thought put into like other things that Yasuke could do besides combat. And that was kind of like my tug and pull, like at least kind of like in the general sense of the game. Besides main assassinations, I feel Yasuke is used really well in main assassinations if you play as him. His parts feel very curated. So
I was going to say we have the dichotomy of the internet here. So literally back-to-back comments we get. It's a bit crazy to think you can play as Yasuke to bypass Assassin's Creed part when you purchase Assassin's Creed game.
Yes.
Followed by, I don't understand it being frustrated or being given the option to play how you like.
I'm not frustrated. Play however you like. I'm saying that you're taking away from your own experience because it isn't built to be a game where you're having a great time just in combat. It's just not.
I think they're arguing that one of the options is bad, so it's not much of an option.
That's what they're arguing, but someone may not think it's bad.
Sure.
Well, I mean, yes, but that's the conversation that we have about video games and art forms of all kinds, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I would generally say from what I've played, Ains, the Yasuke is a very straightforward action game, and to their point, like this is not what Assassin's Creed does well, and I kind of got that immediately. Like that 10-15 minute tutorial at the beginning where you're playing as him, you're like, all right, I've had enough of this, because you don't have any of the Assassin's Creed stuff that they're good at. What I'm missing from this conversation is why the heck this game is an 8 or a 9, as Hogue would say, because everything I've seen about it tells me it does absolutely nothing new, and it seems like a 7 to me. But I'm curious to hear how you guys are at higher scores.
To me, it was a story, because I was like at a 7 for most of it, because I was like, okay, it's like good Assassin's Creed, like feels better. It has added stuff, subtracted a little bit. I feel that me as a longtime Assassin's Creed fan, I feel like this RPG entry feels more like respectful of its lineage than the previous RPG ones, because like it feels like the core Assassins versus Templar side of things finally got more of a focus again, whereas in Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla, obviously it was all about kind of like telling the origins of these stories, but the gameplay that overtook them, like especially in Odyssey becoming like a Witcher 3 like, and Valhalla trying to kind of like split the difference, felt like a series abandoning its core. And me as a longtime fan, you can go see it in my ranking, I preferred the original style over the RPG era, and I feel this one was able to finally hit a perfect middle spot where it serves both in a better way than it did before. But I can't stress enough with this. I feel, to me, it was the story that lifted it up to an 8. If the story was forgettable, I think I would have landed at a 7. At least that was at least for me.
I like Alex's answer here because it is very much not the story for me. I think the story is workmanlike and perfunctory as so far. And again,
so how are you at a 9 then? Because it sounds like the gameplay is...
Because I don't go to Assassin's Creed for their storytelling. I go for their world. I go for the sandbox that they build. And in this particular game, with the sun coming over the mountains and then weather rolling in with a day-night cycle and a weather cycle and a season cycle, I get this historical tourism that is what I think they do best. Ubisoft hasn't been best in class in writing, maybe in their history, but certainly not for a very long time. And so that's not what I think it does well. But what it does do well is put you in Japan in this era of time in a almost photorealistic setting, and be able to see the sights and explore the things and have a good time with that. The overall storytelling, at least so far, Ains, because I've only completed Act 1, which, by the way, is where you get Yasuke, and when I completed it, had been completed by like 19% of players when I did so. So like Yasuke is out of reach for a lot of folks that bought Assassin's Creed already.
Yeah. But that was kind of how I got there. But overall, like for a while, I was like at a 7. But I tend to, like, if there's enough elements that impress me, like in there, that tends to elevate it. But like Ains could see, like it was, I had days where I was like, man, I don't know about this. Then I went another day, I was like, ooh, I really like this. And then another day I was like, oh crap, this is like I'm not liking some design choices that it took there. And that was when around the time that I was like doing the Yasuke, like now it kind of like comparison. And then at the end of my marathon, I was like, okay, that was pretty solid. Ended on an 8. So
he messaged and said he may be coming in with the Rodriguez on this one, which if you're not familiar or newer to the show, Dan famously gave Valhalla a 7 when he reviewed it for Season Gaming, and he was on the lower side of the review scale for Valhalla when it launched, and he got a lot of crap for that.
I think
Yeah, which
Valhalla
honestly-
is a 7. I think this is much better than Valhalla.
Yes, I would agree with
I
that.
think this is about the same from what I've played, but I'm earlier on than you guys. But my main criticism is that it feels like the most Assassin's Creed ever. Like I feel like there's zero surprises, and with their big reveal being that there's a dual protagonist who feels completely different, which he does, but I've not been super impressed by the preview we got of how he feels, and so I'm curious. It's interesting to me because for me it
Yasuke doesn't
feels like
matter. What matters is getting through a piece of weather, seeing a gray heron in the river, and sneaking up on it so that you can make your own ink drawing that you can place in your own base. Like, this is the stuff that they do, and it really, really works in this game, and that's why I come to Assassin's Creed. So,
and to be fair to you, Travis, like
closer to a 9 for me.
Yeah, and to be fair to you, Travis, like knowing what you played, I felt the exact same way. And to me, what that expectation of hearing that this was gonna be more of like how they promoted it is gonna be a new approach for them. I was like, this is not a new approach; it's still the same. At least that's how it felt like early on. Like
it feels very the same. Yeah,
yeah. But then eventually, it's like you start feeling okay. This definitely feels like on top of being a refinement, I was like, maybe the story they tell, it's not like the most groundbreaking, but I really like their storytelling. That especially later on in the story, how they like bring that story together. I felt it was more satisfying than I usually am in Assassin's Creed. That, to Hook's point, has not been strong in stories for like a while. So
yeah, they clearly have some.
landed.
They clearly have some pizzazz. One thing I do want to mention that I wasn't expecting out of this game is that I didn't know how it would compare to Tsushima, and when I started playing it, one of the things that jumped out at me, even though I just said that this game was gorgeous, is that it's not the same kind of over artistry that you see in the Ghost games or that you've seen in Ghost of Tsushima so far, right? So you get that watercolor look all across that game. In this game, they're trying for more photorealism. I didn't initially like it so much, but it really turns out to be a good idea. I think they just do magnificent stuff with this engine at the end of the day. Yeah. And more importantly, in terms of vibes, they really separate pretty far from Ghost of Tsushima, particularly with things like music selection and cinematography, the way that they film their cutscenes, if you will. So one of the things I described on my social media feed while I was playing through this is that if Ghost of Tsushima is Kurosawa, and it clearly is with all of the various things they do with title cards and things in that game, this is more akin to a kind of 70s grindhouse feel. They have Japanese surf music playing over action scenes. They have very dramatic, shadowy figures with fire behind them to set up things. It's melodramatic in a way that I obviously like because I like Final Fantasy and those kinds of games. And that was a surprise to me. I didn't see that in the marketing to this. I didn't know that it would be this different of an approach to trying to tell this story. And while I think it is workmanlike, while I think it is perfunctory and hasn't really had that much of interest in terms of characterization, I don't expect it from Assassin's Creed. I'd love it if it were there. It does have panache in terms of the way it's filming these scenes, showing them, and putting music over them. So I think there's a lot to like here if you're looking for something different. I don't think it's the same as the other Assassin's Creed. If anything, it's an offshoot of like the Mirage, sneaking mission, Splinter Cell type, getting into areas approach that we really didn't see in the Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. And I'm still going to wind up with Odyssey being my favorite ones of these, I think. But it is a different kind of game than those other games because of the loss of the Ghost Recon Eagle Friend and because of the way that you actually have to play through stealth in this game. I just think Yasuke is essentially a red herring. That is not any particular value add to the package.
Yeah, and I really want to stress enough that stealth, especially with guaranteed assassination, feels really, really good. The most fun I had with this one, especially enabling guaranteed assassination, was going out the beaten path to the highest level areas. Like, I was level 10, I went to like level 35 area that's like down south, and I cleared up an entire castle that had like 40 enemies in it, like completely stealth, knowing that if I got seen, I could get killed with one hit.
He was killed with one hit.
With one hit. And I felt the game really more than before. Exactly. So I saw it happen, but I was like, I'm going to see if I can complete it. And you can. And I'm like, okay, they have really upgraded stealth more than you felt with this game, because that's the irony of Assassin's Creed. Like, you would think it's a stealth series, but it's really not. Like, the RPG area, the RPG entries are the ones that finally really locked in on giving you even a crouch button. which is wild to think that was like 10 games in. And this one, obviously, you can even crawl, you can manipulate light, you can even take advantage of the changing seasons. Like I had a winter start like halfway through like a stealth, and the winter storm gave me like ways to hide myself. And I was like, that's actually a really cool detail, because you usually expect weather to not be as dynamic as it is here. Usually we've gotten dynamic weather with like rain and all that, but this is like dynamic seasons. And that really worked. Like sometimes like this dynamic season would work to your advantage, or it could hinder you. You could be able to hide in water. In winter, you can't. And that even changed some of the AI patterns. I was like, when I started analyzing all of this, like that is the area that this was the most improved from the RPG era for me. So
yeah, no, it's definitely
awesome.
in there. And the mechanics are more complex than they used to be, right? When we talk about stealth games, it's used to be if you're in the cone that they can see you, they see you. And like they've added a mechanic, which makes sense for the name of the game, Shadows, which basically shows you how visible you are based on the weather, based on the lighting, based on all sorts of various things. And you're using that at the same time as you're trying to do these various stealth missions with the addition of like peek around corners from the Metal Gear Solid series and things like that. So the actual playing of this game is better than it used to be. It is certainly better than Valhalla, which I think of in my head at this point as the Yasuke game, right? Valhalla is the one where you're just axing everybody and you're running through things. Naue doesn't do that for the most part, although I'm telling you, she can kill people if she needs to. And so you're mostly stealthing around, engaging in this environmental playground, and that's what Ubisoft does well. But yeah, as of yet, 23 and a half hours in, I think, I have not seen much to really recommend it from a storytelling or narrative point of view. It makes me happy that Alex liked it towards the end, because that means that they probably have some ending worthy of the game. But as it stands right now, it is, for the most part, Kill Bill.
So Hope,
Okay.
do you remember in Outlaws how the middle of that game? So real quick, let me say this one. Do you remember in Outlaws how you had like a very scattered approach halfway through the game, and then the final hours of that game really laser focuses? Same thing happens here. That's all I'll say. So.
Yeah, no, I think that would be awesome.
So.
Fair enough. Sorry, Alex. We were laughing because I don't know if you realize you keep breaking up. So
really,
it's like you'll say something and then like it like teleports, and like we're trying to catch up with what you're saying. So. You're frozen on my screen right now. As I said that.
You've got that satellite interview on the Sunday morning talk shows.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm plugged in. That sucks.
So we talked a lot about Shadows. We obviously have some other games we wanted to touch on. I'm going to start with one that I didn't really expect to be able to talk about this week, but I know a lot of people are interested in it. So I'm going to talk about it. Talk a little bit about Claire Obscur Expedition 33. Which comes out in 4 weeks, in a month, almost to the day.
I believe my countdown says 32 days. Yeah.
yeah.
Did you make one of those chain link paper?
No, the PlayStation just puts a number on my screen. I don't have any paper chains.
That's too bad.
I love that you look at the hours.
He's counting down the time to this one, which I'll say I've put about 3 hours in right now. I'm going to put some more time into it, hopefully today and the next couple days. I'll have a full preview up this week, and then Alex will hopefully be reviewing this for us in the coming weeks prior to launch. But I didn't expect to be able to preview this, but I have a few hours into it, and I will say that I'm really, really enjoying it so far. So I'll just call it a couple things because I don't want to spend too much time on it. One, it definitely has the kind of JRPG feel, right? Everything we expected from those deep dives in the videos we've seen. So you kind of go to this kind of hub area. There's enemies walking around. You choose when to attack them, right? And to go into combat. And then there's narrative pieces at certain segments along the way. There's some really good, seem to be really good writing and voice acting so far. I am doing the English dub right now anyway, but it's the characters seem kind of engaging, and there's definitely a lot of history there. I would say that the characters really come across as really sincere but serious. Like it's got that feel of like the world is dying and this is a serious problem, and it's coming across in that vein, which I'd like so far. it doesn't have what I was concerned about and joked about before so far of the JRPG trope of like, you're the hero the world needs, and here we go. Yes, Alex.
Yes. No save the world, not the chosen one trope then, from what you saw?
No, not yet anyway. No, in fact, it's almost the opposite. It's like, we don't know how to save this world and we're going to die. And it's kind of interesting in that vein. But I would call out two things so far is the artistry on display. I've gone to the world map, right? The overview, the first world. Now I'm in the second world or area. And you can go where you want in the areas. It just tells you if the level's too high, it's going to be bad. It says like danger in bright red. It is stunning. Absolutely stunning. I have a bunch of screenshots already you'll see in my video preview this week, but I was blown away at just the artistry on display. The colors, the design, the direction, the skybox is just, it's really, really beautiful, and it runs really well right now. I've had zero hiccups while playing. The combat system, that applies to the combat system as well. So, you know, we've talked about Metaphor and kind of the Persona series being very flashy and on display and beautiful and kind of very artistic in the way they approach their combat system and just the world. And you kind of get that vibe here. The combat system I love. It's like a mix of my favorite turn-based aspects. So you've kind of got this, you know, who's going to attack next meter on the left, right? And you can change that based on how agile you are, how fast your character is. So you get to attack more often. There's kind of combo attacks between your characters and things you can set up, you know, so you can like use one character to power up another character and kind of like combo and things. And it's just very intuitive and interactive. I don't really know how to describe it better than that. It's very impactful, and it's just, you feel like the combat is really fun and really has a lot going on with it. And like, even when you're fighting what are like simple combats where you're not even getting damaged, it's still fun. And I think the parry and the dodge system as part of that is really cool as well. So there's like things where you're attacking using spells where you can power them up by QTEs. If you hit them at the right time, you can make them stronger. And then you can also decide whether you want to try and dodge attacks or parry attacks. If you parry an attack, you kind of do a counter. If you do a perfect parry, you do a counter. So it kind of mixes this real-time and turn-based combat system very, very well, at least, again, so far. Lastly, I think an important part, at least in my experience, you guys are bigger on these than me in JRPGs or RPGs in general, is music and score. Phenomenal so far. Absolutely phenomenal. The combat music, the world music, it's just very, very, I almost want to say moving. Like it feels very emotional. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just very well accompanying the situation and the areas you're in. And I've really, really enjoyed my time with it. I'm looking forward to playing it a little more this week. And I hope that it continues to kind of show this level of excellence, because it's living up to, so far, I keep saying so far, it's living up to what we wanted out of this game, at least from my early hours.
Yeah, I mean, I think the trailers they've released this week show that, one, they're super confident in their product, but two, that I am well positioned to be as excited as I am about this. As you just said, Ains, and I haven't played the preview demo that you have, it does seem to be emphasizing that kind of tragic, melancholy, melodrama, emotional beats that I connect with as much as I do with Japanese role-playing games in a new environment, with new artists making new things. And I'm super excited about trying it out. One question I did have that I have seen in a lot of the previews is a question about the application of motion blur and the technology behind this. Have you found that to be a problem at all in engaging in this?
Actually, yes, shockingly. So I'm one of those people that usually turns off motion blur right away in every game I play. It just annoys me. In this game, and I'm playing it on PC, and like I said, it's stunningly gorgeous, but for whatever reason, I had to turn it back on in this game. It when you're running around, it definitely, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost disorientating when you're running around without it on. It's very weird. Like the whole screen kind of like shifts in a weird motion. So it's odd. The motion blur definitely helps in this instance. Why are you laughing, Travis?
Disorientating. Just got me.
Oh, disorient. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
It was just funny. Sorry.
But yeah, I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's something to do with the build or the engine or something else, but it definitely, I had to turn it back on and it felt better at that point. Because when you turn it back on, it basically keeps your character in focus, but the rest of the world blurs. Whereas normally without it, it's like almost everything is shifting in directionally. It's kind of odd.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not, I mean, in the scope of the game of what I've played, that's a super minor thing. And turning it on, I didn't even think about it anymore.
No. Tragic melancholy. Tragic melancholy. It's what I love Final Fantasy VI for. So hearing that, like, really, really, like, is music to my ears.
I can't recommend the Gustav trailer more to people because the whole notion of essentially we're going to do this not for us, but for those that follow is like that's probably my favorite tragic hero beat. It's like, yeah, go kill yourself, Gustav. You got this, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, even what I've played so far, there's some pretty emotional, setup. And of course, I don't know if the demo takes place into the game. Do you know what I mean? A little further. I don't know. It's probably going to start differently when you play the main game. But it's really well done so far. Though I have to laugh because I can't help but see Gustav and think Robert Pattinson with hair. Like longer hair. I mean, it just looks like Robert Pattinson.
I'll have to see him more.
It cracks me up every time.
In my head.
I just don't know if I can trust the French to deliver tragic melancholy. Don't know. Are they qualified for that?
Yeah, I think. They might have some experience there, but I think what I've wanted to see out of this mix of JRPG with like Western European kind of aspects to it. I'm definitely seeing so far, and I think this could be the one. Like I've said, like I don't generally enjoy JRPGs nowadays, but I think I will enjoy this one. There's some other aspects as well about the I forget the name. They use weird names for everything in the game. So you have like these, you can assign like 3 extra skills or basically like passives, separate from passives, but they have a different name. Like Pintos or Cintos or something that you can have, and they're like unique abilities you can find in the world, and you can mix and match them through your characters. Your weapons upgrade like through combat, so you'll like find a new weapon, and as you use it, it'll start to upgrade. And you obviously have the skill tree and other things. So I'll talk more about it in my preview, but it's looking good, boys. It's looking really good for next month. So and to your point, Hogue, feels like they're really confident in this game.
I think so, and it is without doubt the game I'm most excited about coming this year.
I don't think you're alone. I've heard that. I just posted yesterday, like, hey, getting to preview this, feel fortunate, etc. And a bunch of people like, this is my most anticipated game of the year. So speaking of which, we'll hit the super chat from our good OG here, Lunch Bizzle, who says something similar.
Lunch Bizzle, $10 super chat. Claire Obscur Expedition 33 is the game I'm most hyped for this year. ... Unless E-Day drops in 2025. Fair. Hoping to finish the Suikoden remaster before release day.
You got this. Yeah. Suikoden isn't that long.
Does he mean 1 and 2 or just 1? Yeah. But yeah, Bizzle. I think, like I just said, I think it's well founded, and it's shaping up so far to be really good. Let's keep hoping for E-Day this year.
Now I will need all your I will need all your prayers to help me beat Shadows before Claire Obscure comes out. Because I don't think
if you've done 21 hours or whatever you said in 3 days, I think you got this. Just don't get distracted.
Yeah, here's the thing though, right? Like I only beat Act 1 in those 21 hours. So like that's the way I play Assassin's Creed games is I go and do all the things. There's a lot of all the things to do.
How many Assassin's Creed games have you finished? Because I think your finish rate is pretty low on games in general.
How many have I finished? Well, I certainly finished 1. I certainly finished 2. I certainly finished Brotherhood. I certainly finished 3. And then we get a little bit dicey. I got to the late stages of Syndicate. I don't remember the ending, which means I probably didn't see it. I definitely didn't finish Valhalla. I finished Odyssey, which is my favorite of the RPG games.
Little known fact, nobody has ever finished Valhalla.
That's what I thought too, except I was on a different show.
No, you didn't.
I did. And Bradley said he beat Valhalla, and I said, I honestly thought no one ever finished Valhalla.
So I will say, Valhalla is currently the only Assassin's Creed game I have not seen the credits of, and I include all of them, including the one that was on the PlayStation Vita.
Hey, Shadows has a
Liberation.
credits button. I've beaten Liberation.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Uh,
I want to beat Valhalla and then finish.
You know what?
this
I
game,
didn't
but-
beat. I didn't beat it when they did those 3 2D games. I didn't beat any of those.
Oh, I beat those. Yeah.
I only started playing a set. Well, hold on. Let's close out Bizzle. Bizzle, thank you very much for the super chat. Stay tuned for my preview this week. I only got into Assassin's Creed with Origins. I never liked Assassin's Creed prior, which is sad, I know,
Wow.
but it was never a franchise I picked up. So I finished Origins and Odyssey, but like I said, no one in human history has finished Valhalla. So,
By the way, I hate that Assassin's Creed Shadows is yet another game that does not care about its present day storyline.
Oh, I could not agree
Yeah, that wasn't.
with that choice.
Yeah,
There
I
is
made
a-
a
I
note
think
of it. It's like the.
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, like I am a fan of the modern day stuff. It was one of the things that actually carried me through with Valhalla because it felt like they finally started caring again. But this is the game where they finally were like, we're capitulating to the historical tourism now. Like the Animus interruptions are going to be very brief, they're nondescript, and they're vaguer than they've ever been. And we may do stuff outside of the games to do modern day stuff, but don't expect that in the games. And that to me, as one of the few that likes that, I found that really sad because I really love the dual kind of like nature of the storytelling, how that informed past and future. That was me. So, and I know a lot of people are not like that. So.
Travis, you like the modern day stuff?
No, I think it's a shame that they gave up on it because it was the thing that made Assassin's Creed unique back in the day. Like when I bought Assassin's Creed 1, I bought it because there was a cool assassin on the box. And then when I got home and like 15 minutes into the story, all of a sudden you're in the future and there's like this other character and you find out about the Animus and you're diving into the past. That was the thing that like struck me as, oh, this is like super interesting. And I feel like there was a kind of an inherent promise at one point that eventually we would be assassinating people in modern day and that would be more of a story. And they never really got there. They got close with Assassin's Creed 3 and then you know, some stuff happens in that story and they've never really gotten back. And I haven't cared too much about the present day story since. There's been moments where I thought maybe they were going to do more on it, but it seems like this is the game where they fully just given up. And that's a shame to me because I do think it's a very unique part of the setting of Assassin's Creed and something that they don't seem to really care about at all anymore.
At some point, you got to realize what you're bad at. You gotta cut the bait
Or get good at it.
No, yeah, of course. If you can get good at it, great. But they tried for decades and they weren't. So
I don't know that they tried for decades. I think they tried for exactly up until Assassin's Creed 3 and then just stopped trying altogether.
You think that plot line in the modern day for all the other games just manifests itself? That nobody tried on those things?
I mean, I just it didn't really feel like they were committing. It felt like they were like 1 foot in the let's have like a little bit of a side story or something, but there's no like ongoing plot in Assassin's Creed in the modern day, and there hasn't been for most of Assassin's Creed history at this point. And that's sort of the problem, right? Is if there's no ongoing plot line, then what's really the purpose of the future facing story of the game?
And that's why there isn't one.
Yeah.
In Shadows. And honestly, that first video when they established what they're doing with the Animus and the future and everything in Shadows was the perfect thing for me because it's clear from the very beginning. It's like we're not gonna do this.
I'm with you, Hogue. Yeah, I'm with you. I could not care less about the Animus.
You've only seen the ones where there was no plot line in the future.
I still don't care.
Yeah, well, obviously you don't because you haven't seen when they were actually.
No,
yeah,
why would I buy? Again, you guys are talking about Assassin's Creed doing the thing it does well. Why would I care about Assassin's Creed with some scientists in present day walking around a lab? That doesn't interest me.
Well, it did have it had a purpose and it was interesting.
It wasn't
really.
good.
My point is
nobody really likes the conclusion of the modern storyline in Assassin's Creed 3. At no point was the modern storyline good.
Assassin's Creed 1 and 2.
They were awesome
because it was lost mystery boxes. It's Kristen Bell betrayed me. God damn. And yet we didn't go anywhere with it. Right? It's all putting things off until you get to the conclusion, which sucked. And so Ubisoft said, "Hey, everybody says that sucks. Let's not do that anymore."
The thing that you get out of it, though, is you can make these Assassin's Creed games connected, even though their setting has no connection, right? So you can make an Assassin's Creed Shadows connect with whatever comes next, even if it's in a different period, and it kind of gives you like an ongoing reason to play Assassin's Creed. I feel like we've lost that completely.
You don't need
and so now, Now
just
there's
wanna
no
be in
reason
feudal
to.
Japan. This
I
is
don't.
what I'm saying. Then you don't
Why
have
do you-
to be in feudal Japan.
why do you wanna
wanna
be in one
ancient
of the mo-
Egypt?
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
as you know, I'm over feudal Japan, especially the glorification of that period. One of the most tyrannical
Anyway.
societies ever. Yeah.
my point,
fine.
which I agree with Hogue in that if you're gonna set it up as this is going into a historical period from current setting, I like the idea of what they seem to be setting up. And Alex, you mentioned this of like the Infinity Hub, where it's like, okay, here's the Animus, here's the timelines you're working through, here's the background of what that is. But once I'm in that game, just let me play the game.
Yeah, they've got
Circling
that
back
whole
to
front
present day.
screen. They've got that whole front screen to Shadows now with all of the RPG games on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, kill the thing about Assassin's Creed that makes it at all unique, but that's fine.
Mhm. Yeah.
Guys,
To me-
kill your babies if you aren't good. I will sit here and say that all day.
I don't think they're good at the other stuff
don't
either.
do it.
But
Me,
All
I'll
right.
always lament what could have been, because the 1 and 2, how they did it in 1 and 2 and Brotherhood was pretty cool. So
I don't think they're particularly good at any of it. So
All right, Travis, you're in a good mood today, but I think a lot of us like Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed's pretty mid, dude. Hate to say
So
it.
are you.
Played all of them.
That sounds like TJ talking to me. What was I going to say? What else we got out here? We got 33 Immortals. We weren't going to talk a lot about that, but it is out on Game Preview and Game Pass right now. So this is from, I'm blanking, Banner Saga devs, right? 33 Immortals, I believe.
Maybe?
Unless I'm thinking of a different game. I hope that's right. Chat will correct me. But this one has been in multiple betas, and you can check it out now. It's a very unique concept in the sense of a game. And I was talking to Tao, who commented earlier about this, of like almost being like MMO raid mechanics, where you've got a bunch of people that really have to work together to, take down this kind of bigger enemy, if you will. So it's a unique kind of concept in game. It's out, at least in Game Preview on Game Pass. And if you want to check that out, you can. It's definitely one that they've been pushing for quite a bit on the Xbox side of the house anyway. We also have Atomfall launching tomorrow, right? Or no.
In early
Yes.
Early sales, right? The deluxe edition.
Maybe, yes. I think it's Game Pass on Thursday. Weird, I can't even say the details, which annoys me. Travis knows how these things go, but weird split embargo on this one. I showed the guys at SG the actual embargo, the way it was written, and Alex is like, that's written really weird. And I was like, yes, it is. It's very odd. So
Yeah,
I don't know if you
I was super confused.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you looked at this at all, Travis? Because I was going to ask you, because I
Atomfall?
saw a bunch, not the game, but the embargo.
The
about it.
embargo? Oh no, I'm not on that game at all.
Because it basically says you cannot use any video content. It's in bold. Any video content past the first 3 hours prior to March 24th, tomorrow. And yet, IGN and a bunch of other sites put out video reviews on Friday, which was the early embargo. So I'm like, how are they putting out all these video reviews unless you're using literally the same couple hours of footage on a loop?
Could be that.
But I don't think they are, because everyone has like their definitive reviews out. And I'm like, something is very odd about this one. But
It's also possible that IGN just said that's a stupid embargo. We're not going to
probably. We can't do that, obviously. But yes, it could be. So, but anyway, it comes out this week. Our review will be up tomorrow, but we wanted to be able to speak to the whole game with our video review. So we just waited. And it's kind of a weird one. And then also this week is First Berzerker Khazan. I talked about that one previously. This is a kind of anime Souls-like. It's got some unique mechanics to it. I really, really enjoyed what I've played of the demo. I actually finished the demo twice. And so we'll have more on that game next week as well.
Yeah.
Any of you play that one?
I played the demo. I liked it, but I'm still souled out from last year. So I'm like, I still need
Souled
to kind
out?
of recover.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm souled out at this point. So I kind of need to
Fair
like
enough.
recover the will to kind of play that kind of game. But it was cool what I played. Like, it's very violent. So
Gotcha. Oh, by the way, Time Zinni on Hogue's channel says Expedition 33 was high on my list until the Souls-like tag was thrown around everywhere with it. I don't know what that means. I promise you, Expedition 33 has nothing in common with Souls-likes. So I don't know. I don't know where that came from.
But nothing in common.
You do attack
strong.
things with a weapon. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Because
we've taken that tag too far.
It's
yeah,
the
because
Dark
you compare
Souls
in
of
Expedition 33.
RPGs made by
That's
French
Souls now.
studios.
The only other one I wanted to mention at the top of the game when we're talking about games is but South of Midnight has gone gold as well, and that's actually only 10 days away for the early access version, Travis's favorite thing. So that's April 3rd if you upgrade to the premium or whatever, April 8th on Game Pass. And then there's a horror-esque game coming out this week called Karma: The Dark World. PlayStation previewed this one.
It's got a demo.
Okay, it's got a demo. Great. I didn't know that, Hook. Thank you. But we will have a review on that as well this week, so stay tuned for that. So good stuff. A lot of
Karma:
games.
The Dark World is like a dystopian jump into people's brains and see weird stuff game. It is a Layers of Fear type horror walker. But the demo is interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I obviously can't say anything about the review because the embargo is all the way on the 27th, I believe. But I've heard other people say it's like a horror game from Kojima type style, like it's very out there. So I don't know. I haven't played it. So
yeah, you're in a hospital bed with weird stuff happening. If that's what Kojima means to you, I don't know.
MGS5.
Don't get me started on Kojima. For now, we're going to move on to a couple member comments, get caught up here. Let's go here.
Random_name has been a member for 26 months, and he says, hey, H-A-Y, Bitcast, enjoying catching you all live.
Nice.
Sounds
good to
like
see you, my friend.
Fisherman.
Random name. Here's a fun fact. One of the few people I played Concord with.
Nice.
It's a small list of people, and it can never grow.
Yeah, that is also correct. Yeah, Random name. Good to see you, my man. Shoosh
has been a member for 17 months. That's less than random_name, but we don't judge them. Best part of modern AC games is $17 on UB Plus. If the best part of the game is how little you pay for it, I maybe have some comments about the game.
I saw a lot of people saying they were signing up for Ubisoft Plus this week because not only can you obviously play Shadows and the premium edition, but you also get Outlaws, which, some people were waiting to play too. So
that's what makes the 2 million player announcement kind of interesting, because it wasn't 2 million sold. They were using player counts. So it's like how many of those are playing because of UB Plus. So
yeah, it's the Game Pass thing, same thing, right? It's like players now is what matters. So yep. All right. Let's talk GDC a little bit. So, Travis, GDC 2025 wrapped up. Saw a lot of the industry kind of peers, just a lot of positivity around GDC and the things going on there. Seen a ton of pictures, articles, all kinds of stuff. Obviously, it's the Game Developers Conference. So you see a lot of stuff about tech and engines and, what's coming to the industry. But you were, hanging out, being involved in that for IGN and know a lot of people in that space. How was it this year?
It was great. GDC's the best it's ever been. I think it keeps getting better as kind of E3's wake has sort of settled continuously. People have kind of turned to it more and more. And it's now kind of the big event where the entirety of the industry's here, from developers, media, publishers, etc., sharing secrets and talking, and there's some really interesting talks this year. Have you guys ever been to the or seen videos and photos of the alt control section of the GDC showcase?
No, you mentioned that in our chat this morning, and I was like, I don't know what you're referring to.
Yeah, so there's the section they do every year, and they have a contest for it where it's called alt control, and the idea is wow, look, now I'm frozen. Am I? Okay, there we go. The idea is what if it's all games where the controller, the way you control it is in some unconventional way. And every year there's always very funny videos and stuff that comes out of it. So an example was one of the games was like a Mario Kart type game, except for you controlled it by being in an office chair that had buttons on the side, and then you wheel yourself around in an office chair to control the game.
That'd be fun.
It's very fun. It's like exactly the type of thing you would expect. And a lot of times these are like student made games as like a proof of concept, like, hey, I can make a game and do something interesting. And they'll probably never become games. But this year there were very funny entries, including one where you had to pet animals and the controller was a giant furry I don't know what to call it, like an amorphous blob where you had to like rub the fur, and on the screen there were like cats everywhere, and it was kind of like a whack-a-mole, but you were petting cats and the controller was a giant blob of fur. There's also one where you go into a shower and all the things you're controlling are like you're literally in like a shower, like you step in, close the door behind you, and then like you're controlling things by like the soap and the shampoo, and it's kind of like a WarioWare-esque like game where you're
so we finally figured out a way to get gamers clean, and that is to make showering a game.
Right. Make a shower game. That's it. It's just like there's stuff like that on the show floor that's just like purely fun, and they have like an award ceremony for it. But then there's also just like the devs meeting together and talking about how they accomplished certain stuff in certain games, and other devs attending those talks and sharing secrets and figuring out, maybe where their next job is going to be if they were laid off or they're tired of what they're working on right now, etc. And so it's cool to see that sort of stuff. For my part, I spent almost the entire show meeting with developers about what their upcoming games are going to be and preparing for coverage. A lot of times this is where IGN will like also scope out like future coverage. What would this game be good for an IGN first? Let's meet with this dev and see what they're willing to show us, and etc. And so I was booked up with like hours of appointments every single day. I can't talk about almost anything I saw, unfortunately. I believe the only game I played that was not embargoed was Wuchan, the Fallen Feathers.
Fallen Feathers, yeah, nice.
Fallen Feathers, which is a Souls-like that I played. I guess I think their publisher is French, but in the West. But yeah, they're 505 Games as their publisher. That game was very interesting. The demo was split into two parts where you kind of play a tutorial and then you do a short exploration section and then you jump into a boss fight. I was told when I got there that 4 days into the show, I was there on the final day, that nobody had beaten the boss. And so I said, that's going to change. And I was the only person to beat the boss in the demo, which was very fun. The devs were behind me cheering, which was very nice for them to see the boss get killed. That game's pretty hard. And I think the reason nobody had beaten the boss is because they intentionally chose a difficult one that you really would have no awareness on how to beat at that point, because this is a Souls-like where there's a lot more going on. Like it's kind of got fighting game mechanics where there's like really complicated attack combos, and the magic is way more intricate than in other Souls-like games. And so jumping in with very like basically only an hour of like experience into this later stage boss fight is pretty brutal. But what they didn't anticipate is that I really only needed to know one mechanic, which was how to perfect parry. And so I went in there and just perfect parried the crap out of this lady and beat her. So that was very satisfying. That's really the only thing I can talk about is I played that game. It seems like they're doing stuff a little different, which is refreshing. It doesn't feel like just another Souls-like where you're running through and blocking with a shield and then hacking at like zombie creatures. It's a little bit more... they're trying some new stuff there, which I thought was cool. So I'm gonna have
I was just gonna say, Chinese developers it's coming to Game Pass, and it's supposed to be out this year, unless they change.
Yes, it feels pretty done. It feels pretty done. It feels pretty done. I did not just spam one button. I'll have you know.
Yes, you did. Just with timing.
Perfect pairing is difficult. It's not spamming though. You don't spam it. You hit it one time.
I mean, you're making the definitions up on the fly, Travis. It's fine.
Spamming has a definition, and I'm following it more than I think the commenter is.
How's the parry feel compared to Sekiro?
The parry is very different from Sekiro. It's I would say it's wider, but not all weapons have it. So the way they do it is weapons have arts, and like a perfect parry art is an art that you equip to a weapon. It honestly, the systems are so confusing. I couldn't even begin to describe them or even really claim to understand them at this level. But what I understood is that some weapons can get certain arts, and I found one and then equipped that weapon to it. And it's sort of like you have a very long animation for pulling your weapon up into a block. thing, and you have to be in the full block position to parry. But then the window which you can parry is significantly longer than in other games, and so it's really about just like finding a window to like drag your weapon into a defensive position, and then you can block it. It's also not one of those things where like if you perfectly parry them, they're like staggered and stuff. Like they don't really at least in boss fights, they don't reward you a ton for perfect parrying, and so all it does is sort of protect you for damage. The boss that I fought was like a typical samurai with fast movements and could fly across the map and, you know, do one of those things kind of like you can in Assassin's Creed Shadows. But her trick was that halfway through the fight, she has a heat up where she starts using all these wind moves, and you cannot parry any of those. Oh, also another thing that's kind of interesting is the parry ability is based on a certain weapon. So my power was called Parry Sword, or Block Sword, I think it was called. And so she would do certain moves where she would punch and kick or something like that, and I could not block those because they were not a sword attack. So it's a very different type of game. Like the rules I was not able to intuit how to play the game, which to me is usually a good sign, because it means that it's, you know, it's not going to bore me. At least it's going to have some interesting things. And so, yeah, I chose Block Sword, and then I had to learn to only use that on the attacks where she was explicitly attacking me with a sword. So it was kind of interesting. So I will have a preview of that game up ASAP, because I believe it does not have an embargo. Everything else has an embargo, and so I'll have coverage coming out throughout the week and throughout the week after that. And it's a super busy period for me. But that's the only thing I can talk about right now. But it was a very, very fun GDC. Shout out to the folks at what is the studio's name? The people making 10 Chambers. Shout out to the folks at 10 Chambers who are making Den of Wolves.
Yeah.
Hung out with those guys from Sweden, and they dropped like $10,000 on the most elaborate 19-course meal at an Italian restaurant I've ever seen. Had fun hanging out with y'all if you're seeing this. And it was just fun to see a bunch of folks from the industry.
Den of Wolves is didn't they make that
GTFO?
Thank you. Yes, the one that I keep wanting to play. I just don't have a group to play
GTFO was their first game. If you want to play it, Ains, I might have some codes if you want to get into that. This is their second game. They also are the team that made Payday 1 and Payday 2. And a lot of the team is from there. Ulf and that whole crew are now making another heist game. So I may or may not have something to say about that game in the future as well. So yeah, good times. It was fun, man. I love GDC.
Yeah, it looked like a big show, and I wish I could have made it out. Hopefully next year. So.
Yeah. The problem is really with coverage is that you kind of have to arrange appointments in advance, or you'll have nothing to do, because walking the show floor is like entertaining, but you're not really going to get like coverage out of it. So I'm lucky that somebody makes all my appointments for me, and then I just go to them, and so I can have fun there. But the parties are very fun. It was also the entire IGN team was in the city again for that week, so we had some happy hours and whatnot. Always good to do that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue to announce right in the middle of the show for some reason that Alex and Ray, who's our video producer at Season Gaming, are both joining me in Summer Game Fest Playdays in LA in June.
Nice.
So we will have 3 Season Gaming people covering Summer Game Fest formally. So that's the whole 3-day event, as well as the showcase, probably whatever Xbox does. And if Ubisoft, who knows what they're going to do. If they have their normal showcase, we will see.
They still have games in the pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. They're usually really good events. Like last year was really fun with Shadows and Outlaws. And they had the old theater in LA, and they had one side that was all Star Wars themed and one side that was all like feudal Japan themed. It was really well done. So Ubi puts on a good event. They really do. So those 17,000 people got to do something over there.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I don't know if I'm going to be there. It's around the same time as IGN Live, which last year I didn't go because there was a bunch of news that was happening in SoCal, but then the actual games were in NorCal, so I had to stay here to cover them. And I feel like that might be what happens this year. So I don't think I'll be seeing y'all, but I do not envy those covering that because I think the
Sorry.
Switch 2 is coming out like that week, so I will probably be
Coming out?
Wait,
Yeah,
you know when the
or-
Switch 2 comes out, Travis?
No, I don't know. I just have a hunch.
It may.
Oh,
I have a
yeah,
hunch
yeah.
that
There was a
is
slip
going to be
there.
a very no. It's not a slip. I know nothing about the Switch 2 confirmed. Neither does anybody. Anybody who tells you that they know is full of shit or they're guessing. But I will
That's
say
true.
I have a feeling that week is going to be busy for other reasons, and I think the Switch 2 might be one of them. So we'll see.
I hope it's the week prior so I can play it on the plane. Anyway, Alex.
Yeah.
So Travis, like continuing I know someone's schedule better than they know themselves. Last year you were reviewing Final Shape around IGN Live.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I had an appointment that I was supposed to go to, and then instead they were like, "Hey, could you just play Destiny all weekend?" I remember now. Yeah, Alex does know my schedule and what games I review better than me, and he knows the scores. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like
9 out of
Alex
10.
remembers those details very well.
yeah,
Yes.
he's got Iron Trap. It's good.
Well, that's awesome about GDC. So yeah, and looking forward. Obviously, we'll be talking a lot more about Summer Game Fest here in the coming months. But we did have a gaming show this week, a little more on the minor side of things, but a lot of cool games regardless. So the Future Gaming Show happened this week, and there were, I don't know what the exact count of games, but I went through the list. It's a lot of games. So we're not going to talk about all of them, obviously. Okay, yeah, over 20. But I wanted to mention a couple here anyway that we've either talked about in some form before or that are interesting to the group. So the big one I wanted to mention, because I know we talked about Control and Remedy games a lot on this show. We saw this announcement formally last year with FBC Firebreak, which is like their 4-player co-op kind of in the Control universe game. We got a trailer of the gameplay this week, and guys, I'm not as big on Remedy as I think Hogue, you are, maybe all three of you, honestly. But I looked at this game and I was like, I can't tell if this is going to be welcomed and beloved, or if it's literally going to be the next Back 4 Blood or Redfall that just disappears a week after release. What's the thought
fair
here?
to put those in the same bucket, because
Well,
I
maybe
think it's
not,
going to
but-
be a successful product. I think it's going to be fun to play. I think nobody's going to play it. I think it's absolutely not going to work in the market. But I like Remedy. I think that trailer was better than I would have expected for the project, but I really don't think it has a place in the market.
It
I
just
think
looks,
it's a sorry.
sorry, Alex. I was going to say that the word I was going to say is out of place. So Hogue, agree.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and there is a reason why they're putting it both on Game Pass and PS Plus at the same time. They probably know that a lot of people don't want to buy this, so they're kind of just giving it away, or at least for people
There
to
you
try it. And they're not saying that it's even live service. It feels like just like a random one-off. They're saying that it's not supposed to be like an ongoing thing with this one. So maybe they just wanted to do like an online shooter just as an exercise to be like, let's do something different than a narrative game. Who knows? It looks fine.
I think that it being on Game Pass and PS Plus, I didn't know that, by the way, Alex. So good shout. That's at least good. Hopefully you get an audience to at least play through the game in co-op or whatever it's meant to be. And I hope it's good, obviously. I mean, I enjoy those types of experiences. I watched that trailer, and I don't mean this, it's going to sound really bad, but I felt nothing watching that trailer. I'm just like, this isn't doing anything for me at all. Which sounds horrible to say, to the developers working hard on the game. I don't mean it that way, but it just felt flat. It feels like I've seen this before. I don't know what you're doing unique here to interest me. Okay. And there's so many good games. There's so many good games out. Trying to find time is just, I don't know. All right. Well, at least I wasn't alone, it seems, on that one. Couple others to call out here. So Revenge of the Savage Planet. We talked about that game before. This is a sequel to Return, I think, right? Return to the Savage Planet. So this is coming out May 8th, and we got a little new peek at that. Also coming in May is Onimusha 2 Remaster, which we know Capcom has been kind of digging back into the Onimusha vibes, which is cool. Love that series. So the remaster comes out May 23rd. Getting people probably into the Onimusha thought process before they release their new one, right?
If you're not sick of dealing with Nobunaga by the time that comes out, you can deal with him some more.
Yeah. We also got to look at Kingmakers. Funny enough, Tide had pinged me about this one for other reasons, but Kingmakers is a game looks very unique because it's in a medieval setting. Like if you look at Kingmakers, it's like medieval castles, knights type of thing, and then it's got modern technology. So like you can apparently like drive through the armies in a car. You can have machine guns. Like, it looks like a crazy mashup of things. So this one's been in development for a while. They've been talking about this coming for quite a while now. It still does not have a release date. It just says coming later in 2025. But if it sounds kind of wild to you, you may want to check out the views of that one. I wanted to mention Painkiller. Any of you remember Painkiller from 2004?
I rented it back in the day. I remember.
Okay.
I have to Google this one.
Yeah,
Really?
Painkiller 2004. So
On
a new
Xbox.
entry is coming in this from Saber Interactive, who just did Space Marine 2. So you've got some pretty good development chops there, working on a new entry in this IP. I guess we'll see how it delivers. But I saw a lot of people kind of excited about that one.
Yeah. Okay. I love this game.
This game.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
forgot this
21
game
years, and I don't
existed.
think I don't think anyone's been asking for a Painkiller reboot, but here we are. And it's not a reboot, to be clear. It's a new entry, according to what they said. So
A sequel.
I think Painkiller was pretty well thought of when it came out.
at the time, it
Like a
was.
Doom competitor, right?
Yeah. They're calling this a reboot. So I thought it was like a remaster or remake of the.
No, I thought
of
it
the
was a new
original, but
entry
They're calling it a
from
reboot
what-
in the Twitter. So
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's my fault because it says new entry on their site. It doesn't say reboot. So I don't know. That's weird.
their Twitter must be wrong.
Honestly, one of my favorite trailers this week, which sounds kind of goofy when you watch it, but it's this game Deliver at All Costs. This is the one I sent over to Hogue and Travis, you guys, as a trailer. It's an isometric kind of delivery game, but it's like it takes place in like the 50s or 60s, but like it's got like, it just looks like chaos. Like you can drive through buildings, you know what I mean? It's kind of like a physics-based, crazy taxi almost looking isometric game. I don't know. It's a mashup of weird things, but it looks hilarious. If you haven't checked this out, it's called Deliver at All Costs. Comes out in May. And I think it's going to be like a $30 game or something, but it just looks like a whole lot of fun. So
Yeah, it looks wild. I don't know what
What's your next bang on balls, dude?
It might be.
come on.
No,
If
this looks better than
it's
that.
that good, we'll be very lucky. So
But we're not going to mention we got a release date for System Shock 2.
I was gonna
we did.
mention
That's
that.
That's on my list. It's on my list. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
go.
All right. You skipped to the bottom of your list. I apologize.
I did. I'm jumping around.
Yes.
He goes out of order, man.
Yeah.
System Shock 2 comes out in June.
Yeah.
By Night
System
Dive.
Shock 2,
26.
for those that don't know, one of the preeminent horror games in the history of video gaming.
It'll probably
Many people, and I think you as well, Hogue, I don't know about you, Travis, like System Shock 2 better than BioShock.
Yes, I mean System Shock 2 is the parentage of BioShock.
I love them both. BioShock is a better game.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Versus.
No, it's not. BioShock doesn't have anything close to like the malice of Shodan in System Shock 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does have
I will I never finished this. Going way back. I don't even think I played it long. So as a big fan of BioShock, I will go back and play this one. Let me ask you a question though, because I bought the System Shock 1 remake from Night Dive. I haven't gone back. Okay, thank you. I haven't gone back and played it, so I was like, do I need to finish that first? But
Both good
Nope.
though. That was my favorite remaster that year.
Yeah, I mean you
Actually
should
needed
play
a
it because it's
last
good,
year.
but you don't need it to enter System Shock 2.
okay. Was System Shock 2 a big step up mechanically from 1? Do you remember?
It's a big step up narratively. Mechanically, it's not that different.
It's kind of the same
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, I heard that
Kinda
people are
same
kind of like in the Travis camp in the gameplay side. That BioShock is like a better playing game, like in comparison. So, narrative, I think it's an eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Excited about that
All
one.
narratives are eye of the beholder, but I would have a lot
So
of
is gameplay, by the
interrogatory
way.
concerns about the beholder that thinks the BioShock narrative is better than System Shock 2 because they're wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're both pretty good
Um,
stories, but I think BioShock just like it has more components to it. There's more.
Okay.
You know.
Nice. Yeah, it's good though. It's good to see that coming back. We'll obviously see if we ever get Judas, the game that's been in development for since before Alex was born. We got the next look at Chronos, the New Dawn. So this is the new IP from Bloober Team. that they're working on, and looks intriguing if nothing else. I think we've talked before that, you know, I don't know if I'm in the minority or what, but I generally like what Bloober Team does, even though it's a little janky at times. So I'm kind of curious to see what they do with new technology and a new IP. So we'll see what this looks like.
They're riding high from Silent Hill, so.
Yeah, and apparently, what rumors are they're going to do more, right? Like they're signing on to do Silent Hill either 1 or I guess 3, probably, right?
Well, we don't know, right? We just have a vote of confidence from Konami.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then Reanimal was shown. So just a reminder for those who may not know, but Reanimal is the new game from the people, Tarsier Studios, who did Little Nightmares 1 and 2. They left from, is it 2K? I forget. They broke with the publisher or whatever to do their own thing, which is called Reanimal. And what makes this one unique is it's very similar to Little Nightmares in terms of aesthetic, but they're building it to be co-op from the start. So everything in the game is 2 players on the screen at the same time. And you can do that with obviously AI, or you can do it with someone with you playing. There's a really good article in Edge magazine from a couple months ago about talking with the developers about how challenging this is to develop from an AI perspective. If you think about the Little Nightmares formula, from a co-op perspective, excuse me. So yeah, that looks really, really interesting, but I hope it's good. It looks amazing. So. All right. There's a bunch of other games. I would suggest going to a summary page of Future Game Show or go to their site, because there's a lot of other smaller games you might not have heard of that you may find interesting. Obviously, we can't talk about all of them, but yeah, quite a few games.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is this the show where we got the release date for Wadjet Eye's new game?
No idea.
What's the name of the game?
I think it's Old Skies.
No.
Okay, we got the release date very close in time to this show. I just didn't know whether it was revealed at the show or not. Wadjet Eye are the people that make the adventure games like Unavowed. You might be familiar with. I don't know what else to recommend to you on this score, but they're a very popular adventure game maker, and they're making a time travel game, and they've been making it for a while, and it releases in like a month.
Okay. Awesome.
Wasn't here. So.
Yeah, there's
I love adventure games.
There's too many games to keep up with. Like I was going through this list and I was like, here's like another 20 games. You know what I mean? And there's some that look really interesting. Rick Davis says in the chat, no love for Mandragora, awesome Metroidvania side-scrolling Souls-like. Mandragora. So another one you can check out. But this is what I mean. Like, and I would encourage people, like, you know, I know we get the Shadows and we get all the big games that we talk about here every week. But there are so many good games on a smaller scale being released. And I know Hogue does his best with Hogue's notes to call out some of them.
I do my best.
And Travis mentions them from a coverage perspective, but there's just, take a peek, because there's just amazing games out there every week.
What do you guys think of the name Future Game Show?
What do I think?
Pretty generic.
Yeah, I mean it's like kind of like it's a low. I don't want to say lower budget, but you know what I mean. It's just putting spotlight on the games others may not ever check out.
I mean the name specifically.
Yeah, it's
weird
effective.
Name. It's a weird name.
It does what it says on the tin.
Future game.
Aren't all game shows about future games?
Future games. Yeah.
Well, no, I think it's future
about winning money.
So should you have a past game show where you only show games that came out in the past? What do you guys think?
I'm down. Do it.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
But isn't it called the Future Gaming Show?
No, it's games.
Future show. Okay.
Yeah, that's my problem with it. It's future games. It just shows you games in the near future.
No. Dude, I think we could nail down the market on past game show. And just show trailers that have already released.
Guys,
it's hard to nail down the absolute naming wonder that is IGN, that means nothing except IGN.
Yeah.
So Future Game Show tells you what it does.
Games Network.
Yeah, but they changed their name to just IGN.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not saying IGN's a good name. I'm just saying I'm allowed to criticize other names. I didn't come up with the name of IGN. Nor do I stand behind it. I'm not even their employee.
That's right, Travis Jacob.
What kind of a name is Dickie Rich or whatever they call you?
Dickie Ricky.
All right? Dickie Ricky, all right?
Hey, we don't.
Your parents looked at you as a little baby and said, "There's little Dickie Ricky," and they.
This is a PG-13 show. We don't talk about our porn names here. Come on,
that's fine. Yeah, I guess Hogue was always destined to be a porn star.
According to AI, he is.
AI really wants him to get into it. That's for sure.
I would say, Travis,
boy.
from that list of games, I think a game that feels so is one called Animal Use Protocol. Look it up.
I saw the one where it was medieval and everybody had the assault weapons, and I was into that.
Kingmakers.
Kingmakers.
That game looks cool. Cool.
There's quite a few cool ones on there. The other thing we got this week, it seems, I mean, it's everywhere now. So we talked, I think, a couple weeks ago about the leaks, but it seems to be everywhere, is that Oblivion remake is coming, and it's coming soon, supposed to drop in April. So,
I will say, I also have no intel on Oblivion's remaster, but I will say that I got a ping recently from somebody online who was asking me if I would be interested in covering Oblivion, and asked me a bunch of questions about how much I know about Oblivion. And I was like, oh, this is a little odd. This is a weird request. And then I had to show them that I have every achievement in Oblivion, including the DLC. And they were like, all right.
Is it the same guy as
I'd hit you up in a bit. That's what they told me.
Is this the same guy as the Xenoblade Manifesto?
No, this was somebody actually in the industry, not a psychopath.
Okay.
So
there is no indication that individual is a psychopath.
There is very many indications. If you would receive that email, I think you would think differently on it. But yes, there's many evidence to point to that person is a verified sociopath and or
okay, you've already changed the designation.
Yeah, I know.
I'm psychopath or a sociopath?
Oh, those are not mutually exclusive.
Are they the
same? I'm sure
they're not the same.
I actually believe they don't even use sociopath anymore, because it's, I don't know. Somebody told me this recently. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
The other thing that has leaked, which is I can tell you is official, is tomorrow we'll hear about Indiana Jones for PS5. And we'll get the release date as well. And there will be a physical copy for PS5, adding insult to injury to the Xbox physical fans. So, anyway, again, I will just say play Indiana Jones. It's awesome. If you only have a PS5 and don't have access to PC or Xbox for some reason, play.
I've really been wanting to talk about the end of that game with somebody, but I don't know anybody who's beaten it. Have you guys beaten it?
Yeah,
I did.
Can we talk about the karate? You guys know what I'm talking about?
No.
Really?
At the end of Indy?
At the end of Indiana Jones. Karate. Can we talk about?
I don't remember that.
Really?
I don't remember.
Are you
that.
serious? Oh
I'm
my
serious.
God.
No.
I think it was near in the final chapter. I think that was, but it's been a few months since I beat it.
I'm talking about the very end of the game.
Yeah. No. I know what scene you're referring to, but I don't remember that statement.
What? Oh my God, y'all are crazy. No, that was very...
Okay.
Took me by surprise.
It was the main guy, the main bad guy, right? Yeah, it was the main bad guy.
I'm not going to spoil it for anybody.
Yeah.
But like, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And it's a very funny moment. And I was just like totally taken aback by it. Like, wait, this is how the game's ending? This is crazy. Anyway.
Let's get caught up on Super Chats, because we got a few sitting here. And we got Carl Blakemore in the house.
Carl Blakemore has given me $10 and writes, thanks for bringing some fun today. Tomorrow starts 2 weeks at the University of Michigan Hospital for cancer treatment and monitoring for fever/cognitive function impairment. Then 8 weeks of Can't Be Alone. Yay.
I feel bad for you, buddy. Carl. I would also add for Travis that we don't know what M that is. There's a few states with M.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's University of Michigan Hospital.
Okay. Very well.
Maryland. Could be Maryland.
Or Minnesota. Just a few.
Mississippi.
Yep. Manitoba.
I the only hospital I know that uses those
Michigan. He said it's Michigan.
Okay. Yeah, it's because UOFM specifically is the phrasing used for the University of Michigan Hospital. I don't know why.
Sorry to hear this, Carl. This is tough, man. Wishing you all the best, and kind of goes without saying. Yeah, that's wishing you strength through that. That's not going to be easy. Damn. Hold on one second. Please keep us posted, Carl. and keep us updated. You don't have to super chat. You can DM me if you need to. He did say he posted a super chat on the SG side as well.
Nice. He writes, showing some appreciation here as well. Smiley face. Great show today. Catching the show is something I look forward to weekly.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I believe, Carl, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe, and don't super chat again, just put it in chat. I believe that he's a newer viewer to Bitcast, unless I have that wrong. I think he caught up with us more recently off of Blue Sky, actually. So
Nice.
really appreciate that, and wishing you the best. Freight Conductor.
FR8 Conductor has a $5 super chat, and he writes, half of the people in here are the type of people that don't silence their cell phone in a movie theater. Hit that like button. I think he's referring to the commenters. I don't know about you guys, but my cell phone is always on silent. You guys have your phones with noise coming out of it? Yeah.
I think it relates to the like button. That you're the type of person that isn't doing the normal etiquette for something like this. You should hit the like button.
Oh, I didn't make that connection either. Good call, Hogue.
Yeah. I think that sounds right. Y'all have loud phones? Hogue, is your phone on silent? What do you do with your phone?
I always turn it to silent when I start a recording. It actually gets me in trouble later on if I forget to turn it back on to sound mode. But I'm pretty good about that. I have had my phone go off when I forget on shows, but usually my mic doesn't pick it up.
So you have your phone on like make noise mode normally?
Yes. Yes,
Yes,
I have my phone ringing normally.
Yes. Yeah, psychotic behavior. And you do that too. Very cool.
Yeah, of course. How else would I know I'm getting a call?
Psychotic behavior. You see how this works?
How else would I know I'm getting a phone call?
You know, it vibrates, lights up, does other things. You don't need the noise.
It's in my pocket. I'm not seeing it light up.
But you feel the vibration, right? You don't have a dead leg.
Don't talk about my legs. You don't know what they're doing.
Was your leg made out of wood? You don't feel a vibration? I don't know. I think maybe it's a generational thing, but like millennials, I feel like never have sound.
You don't even answer the phone anyway, so it doesn't matter.
It is true.
That's true, but only because it's learned. Like I don't know if I've received a phone call from anybody that I've needed to answer in like 15 years.
I envy you. That is
what? Who's calling you that you need to pick up the phone like that?
Clients, the people that pay my bills.
Yes.
Work.
People call you on the phone for work.
Yes.
People ask to meet in person.
A lot.
Can you believe it?
I know people meet in person, but usually, you schedule a Zoom. I don't know. You get a text. People text you before they call you.
This is TJ behavior right here.
No,
this is TJ behavior.
not set up a Zoom call. People ask to see you.
Remember my line of work, Travis.
Yeah, but for me, it's like you text me to see if I'm even taking calls today. You know what I mean?
No, that's millennial behavior.
Yeah, I think that's you all
if
are
you're taking calls today. Are you on my time? Is it the work day? You're taking calls.
Yeah, you text first, bro.
It's definitely different. On that note, funny enough, so we're playing. We got a preview to a game. I sent the email to Eric, who is a lot younger. I think he's your age, Travis. He's right around your age. Game Positive, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, and he goes, when can we talk about this? And I was like, dude, it's in the middle of the email on its own line. And I'm like, dude, it's right in the middle of the email. He's like, I can't read all that email. I'm a millennial. I'm like, dude, it's like 5 lines.
I hate to tell him that is not a millennial trait. That is an ADHD trait. Yeah,
it's very different. It's not even long. It was like nothing.
I'll read the whole email. I'll read the text message. It's just like, if you call me, like, it's just not a productive way to reach a person, I don't think. I haven't heard a ringtone in like 15
No, but
years.
I love that you say it's not a productive way to reach a person. Instead, text that you're going to call me and then I'll answer. It's like, that's 2 efforts for 1. Why wouldn't I have just called you?
Or just text me.
Yeah, I mean, I text more than I call for sure.
Exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
We don't like to do legal things by text.
That's fair. Yeah, but you have
I do.
Stuff to do because you.
This is why I'm in such trouble with the law.
Yeah.
Freight Conductor, look what you got on started. But yes, hit that like button while you're at it. Thank you very much. And Cherry Mills, thanks for
Cherry Mills has been a member for 26 months.
Yes, thank you for re-upping. Appreciate you, Cherry. All right. One more thing I want to talk about today is around the Xbox, the leak, I guess we can call it, which is they go and put out this not new for Xbox by any stretch of the imagination nowadays, which is play Xbox on any device. But on one of them, on their UI, they have a Steam button basically integrated into the UI on this thing. And then as people obviously pick it up, basically immediately saying, hey, look, there's a Steam button, they pulled it down. And so Tom Warren and, a bunch of the people who cover Xbox really thoroughly were talking about this. And I guess it goes back to our conversation we had recently around where the leaks are for next-gen hardware with Xbox. And I guess we've heard this rumor of Xbox moving to a console that's more like a mini PC for a long time now. That's not new. But I guess want to ask you guys, just from a theoretical perspective, right? You get the next Xbox console and they allow you to integrate your various storefronts into that console experience, right? So you plug and play your console like your Series X and it logs into Xbox Live and you're in their ecosystem, but you can go to a tab or a button or an app, whatever, however they build it, that basically will take you to your Steam page and allow you to play Steam games. I guess we're getting a little down the road because that requires some connectivity and other things, but regardless, allows you to access Steam on your console. Does that interest you guys?
I mean, I think it's a winner for Xbox, certainly. But it all seems to be an effort to trap Sony, right? Sony has found a new revenue stream by releasing their games on PC. They've released those games on PC through the Steam storefront. And Xbox is going to be putting their products on PlayStation in their ecosystem. We know that already. We've seen that in practice. We'll see it more in the future, I assume. And so this is a way of saying, all right, Sony, if you're going to look for that revenue, we're going to be able to play your games on the Xbox. I don't think it's a good solve for most Steam experiences or the things that I play the most often on my computer, things like Civilization, things that have console releases but play better with a keyboard and mouse. Of course, these systems can allow for that, but I don't know how many people, and maybe you do, guys, actually connect a keyboard and mouse to your console setup. And so I think it's a solve for them, but it's not going to really get me invested in their ecosystem. I'm not the one that they're looking for on this. Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm in the same boat. I have my PC obviously right here. I game on PC. I game on Steam. They have the Steam Deck. I don't see any reason why I would need to access Steam on my Xbox, but that's for me personally. I think that Steam as a player, right, is the de facto client on the PC side. And we know for a fact that people that even have Game Pass on PC and can play games as part of Game Pass through the Xbox store will still buy the game on Steam instead, just because they're wrapped up in kind of the Steam ecosystem, for lack of a better word. So I don't see how it hurts. I think it gives them another piece of functionality and connectivity. But I think it depends on implementation, as with all things, but it doesn't do anything for me personally. I'm with you, Hoke. Yeah, we've talked about it before as well, but there is a question of clunkiness. And certainly the infrastructure they showed, the user interface that they showed suggests that they are trying to work on that they are trying to make it intuitive and easy to use. So that's good. That is a good thing overall. But yeah, I mean, what's interesting about this, and certainly people on social media and elsewhere have reacted to it as it's gone along, is Microsoft giving up this kind of Xbox identity of what an Xbox even is, right? And yes, you can play your games on your toaster if it has a screen, etc. That's one thing. Having a not kind of Xbox only interface for this Xbox that you've bought and placed under your TV is the other kind of angle of attack here, where when this all finishes, maybe Microsoft's fine, maybe they're making a lot of revenue, but Xbox as a concept is so amorphous and diluted that it doesn't mean anything to anybody.
Yeah, there's certainly a risk of that. I think Xbox is taking that swing because what they're doing right now is not super working for them.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
They've got to adapt. They've got to change. I don't think this is the worst move in the world. There's a lot of Steam games that don't really make sense on Steam. Like, if you buy Split Fiction and you want to play that co-op, I don't really know how you enjoy that with a second player on a computer screen, right? You're two people huddled in front of a desk. You've got your PC connected to a TV. There's a lot of kind of problems and edge cases there. And that's not the only example. Like, there's lots of games that have couch co-op that are completely impractical on Steam using a standard setup. And so I see kind of a little niche use case there. I don't think it really hurts Xbox to add this functionality. I do have a mouse and keyboard in my living room. It's wireless, and it's a keyboard that's intended to go on your lap with a little mouse pad attached to it. It's pretty nifty, and you can sit on a couch and do it. That can be helpful when you're playing a PC game and you don't want to be hunched over a desk. I don't like playing games at a desk. That's for emails, my friend. That's for writing the reviews. And so for me,
I agree.
I agree as well.
Yeah, games are just more comfortable on a couch. And so if there's a way for me to play those mouse and keyboard games reliably and in high enough fidelity on a couch, I'm game. But is that a large audience? Probably not. But I don't know that they're trying to sell this as like the main selling point. I think it's probably additive. It's another storefront that you can integrate. It also gives them a chance to combat their current biggest weakness, which is, as Phil Spencer pointed out, they lost the generation where everybody got their digital libraries. And so this says, hey, your libraries on PlayStation, your libraries on Steam libraries are now accessible on Xbox. And so you have a reason to possibly purchase our box over PlayStation's, which doesn't respect your Steam library at all. And so I see that as a competitive advantage as well.
Yeah. Fair. Go ahead, Al.
I wonder if it's going to work like how the EA app works on PC. If you have like Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and download an EA game, that then opens the EA to kind of like certify, but then like those games, you can start them up from the Xbox app. Maybe that's kind of how they're going to do it. It's just kind of
that's actually a good thought.
Be like a front page UI. So
yeah, it's basically just verifying your key, right? That's all it is. It's verifying your identity and that you actually own that game. Yeah, that's a good thought.
It could, because one of the issues that Microsoft is going to have with this is like, if you've got multiple storefronts, how do we make sure that you buy the thing that is replicated across multiple storefronts on ours, right? Travis mentioned Split Fiction. Split Fiction is available to buy through the Xbox store, is available to buy through Steam. And if we have both access points on our console, we want you to have that flexibility, but we don't want to give up our 30% because you decided to pick the other tab. So there's a whole lot of things to solve for them here. But I think it's overall a good move. It's just we're continuing down the road where an Xbox really is a little computer under your TV. And Xbox, other than being a brand, doesn't mean anything in particular.
Yeah, my concern right now is that I feel the Xbox UI, like the base Xbox UI, works so well, but the PC app still doesn't. And it feels like they're moving more towards trying to get everything into being like the Xbox PC app instead of the Xbox UI. I would love to see how they make that work if you're still going to be like on Xbox, or if they're finally going to improve the functionality of like the Xbox app, because that app is so inconsistent all the time that I've tried to like play a game through it. And I feel a lot of people feel that way also with just the Windows Store in general. Like, I know they've tried to do all of that, but it feels like it's still got a ways to go to make that more reliably functional, like compared to like Steam, that I feel is more reliably functional, even though it's clunky to look at. So
yeah, I don't think they're going to change the UI at all, because it's still a primarily controller controlled device, not a device that they're expecting you to control with a mouse and keyboard. So
well, and assuming they didn't lose their minds, the operating system for their box is going to be a higher priority than just a browser entry, an app on the computer that is going to be one of many ways you can get to their product. So the hope is Microsoft, software company that they are, focuses on this user interface and makes it as smooth as possible. I still have certain concerns just because we haven't, as players, operated in an environment that has multiple digital storefronts for access to our licenses. But I think it's a good idea. And I really do think it traps PlayStation in an unfortunate way for them, which is that they need that revenue for their budgets clearly at this point.
They do.
And if Sony feels like they don't want their games running on an Xbox that's running Steam, they will have to cut that off. So, I mean, like that's essentially a side play by Microsoft against Sony, not for selling boxes anymore, but for just competing overall as companies.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a real problem if then they eventually go to day-and-day PC with everything. Right now, obviously, they're staggered. So maybe they kind of still wave it off as a, look, we're launching it in our console first. That's where we're getting the launch share of our sales. Then we get kind of like that smaller double dip on PC. But if it's day and date, I can see that playing out, like you say, because like it's making it available in a competitor's platform almost immediately by just
proxy.
proxy.
It feels like the solve there for PlayStation is to tell Steam, we'll publish our games on your platform, but you can't make them available on Xbox.
Valve can't agree to that. Valve cannot agree to that as a neutral platform. They cannot agree to that from Sony, and Sony doesn't make them enough money for them to agree to it.
I don't know that. Yeah, I feel like it wouldn't be that hard to do it because, like, for
mechanically,
example,
it's not hard. It's a business proposition. Valve cannot give that particular waiver to Sony because their sales proposition at Steam is if you can access your Steam account, we can play your game there. And they can't give like carve-outs to specific companies or else they lose that as their primary sales model.
They kind of already do it on like the Steam Deck, right? Like there's games you can't play on the Steam Deck for various reasons. And so I think
that's technical reasons, not licensing reasons.
I think they could treat it the same way though, right? It feels like there's probably a deal that could be made there. If
there would be an absolute revolt against the Steam brand if they gave a carve out to Sony that said your Sony games cannot be played on the Xbox Steam Point access.
Yeah, because I think it would be a problem. They're not Sony games; they're Steam games, right? People think of that as
publisher doesn't matter.
Library. Yeah, I think that's an interesting point as well. And by the way, Hogue, you said something about not making assumptions about Microsoft losing their minds. I am not holding myself to that.
Yes, that's fair. That's why I carved it out.
Microsoft has lost their minds many times through the years, and I'm sure they'll do it many more times. So
I think they will be focused on making the UI as intuitive as possible for whatever the next box is.
Yes, I think they've already talked, if I recall correctly, about UI design across their devices for the future, right? We saw some of that on the UI for the phone space, right, with usability. And they've continued work in that progress. So if we think that they've got another 2+ years, right, of development into the next gen Xbox UI, I guess what I'm saying is if their message is you can play Xbox anywhere, you have to have a UI that works anywhere. And they aren't so great at that today, as Alex rightly pointed out. So they've been improving. They still have a lot of work to do. But we put a poll up on the SG side if you're interested. Does accessing Steam on your Xbox make a difference for you? We got 60% right now, give or take, saying yes, 40% saying no. So I guess, as always with these types of conversations, it'll come down to implementation and usability, what actual reality is versus us speculating. But be interesting. Super chat for random name here.
Random_name. $4.99 super chat. I don't think PlayStation will pull their games from Steam. I have a feeling they go and create their own launcher. New games will be exclusive to that.
Okay, that is pulling their games from Steam. It's just the future games that never make it to Steam. It's the same effect.
Yeah. Same effect. Although that again, they get
playing God of War on Xbox eventually.
Yeah, but it means like they're backing into where Xbox is getting away from. Do you know what I mean? They started on Steam, and now we're saying, which could be true, random name for sure, but that would be crazy to think PlayStation, and we've heard this in rumors, is that they're building their own PC storefront. And again, they're probably banking on their global reputation and global brand strength there. But again, we have seen pretty definitively in the PC space that there is a large percentage of PC gamers who play on Steam, and that's it. And if your game's not on Steam, they're not playing it.
I think it's a fail state for them. That's why I'm saying it's going to apply pressure to PlayStation to figure things out, whether that's just pulling it from Steam, whether that's allowing their games to be played on Xbox, whether that's making their own launcher and app and everything else. It's putting them in a weaker position than they otherwise would be. However you feel about that, competition is overall good, and Xbox putting that pressure on will hopefully result in good things over the long term.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like GameFire says, look at Epic and EA launchers. I mean, any other launcher. Epic gives away games every month, and they still can't compete with Steam. I mean, Steam just has a stranglehold on that PC community.
I can't speak for everybody, but it's essentially size to me. It's first mover advantage went to Steam with the first digital library. I don't want to have to remember 6 different places that I have things in.
You're literally
that's why I go with Steam.
You're the PC space of the comment Travis made about Phil Spencer and the digital thing. It's the same with PlayStation.
Yeah,
they have their digital library on PlayStation. They don't feel like switching to Xbox. It doesn't matter.
I think
There's
that
more
is bad for the industry, though. That like there's a
So do
because
I.
people have their libraries there. Nobody wants to give any other competitor a chance. I just don't.
Well, I mean,
I don't think
that's just human nature. So it can be bad for the industry. The industry has to figure out how to deal with human nature. And when they can figure that out and give something that is compelling enough for me to have multiple storefronts where I have to remember where I bought game X, then a winner is them. But nobody's done it so far.
Well, I think they're like if you get your game from other sources, you can add it to Steam. And so I think there just needs to be a way to reverse engineer that for Steam. And I don't know if that requires a technical breakthrough or some sort of agreement or legal.
It's all
a law that gets passed or whatever. Yeah, something's got to happen to kind of make it so that when people own things digitally, they aren't tied to Steam going out of business. Like if something like that happened, it would be catastrophic. So
yeah. Well, I guess we'll see. It was an interesting. I don't know if you never know with these things if this was a planned slip or what, from Microsoft and Xbox. But regardless, it's interesting to think about, and obviously we'll continue to see. We'll see if we see anything in June. Sorry, I've got the hiccups from Xbox in this space, and we'll obviously talk about it then. So
interesting follow up to last week's talk about like what would convince you for what next gen is for any of the
exactly
companies. So
yeah, exactly. Random name, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Appreciate you. On that note, boys, I think we're going to go ahead and get out of here. We won't get yelled at as bad this week. We are clearly over 2 hours, not by 1 second like last week. But we're still very shy of 3 hours. So you guys are slacking, man. I'm blaming you guys for this.
You'll get there.
I have nothing to do with it. I'm just the host who does the notes, So, as always, Alex, thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for the work on Shadows, obviously, and the conversation there around that. Go ahead and tell people where they can find you. Chat, thanks for hanging out with us, of course, today. But please check out Alex and where you can find him.
Yeah, sorry for being robotic today, but you can find me at _Segovia on Twitter, at Segovia on Blue Sky, and all my current reviews were at seasongaming.com, where you can find my reviews for Eternal Strands, Monster Hunter Wilds, and Assassin's Creed Shadows. So.
And hopefully Expedition 33. Soon anyway. Yes, and don't try and find him on social media. He creates a new name on every platform, and it drives me crazy officially. So
I live in the shadows.
That's just bad marketing, bro. You got to get your brand in order.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, we have a social handles list, a spreadsheet for Season Gaming. So when I post things and tag people, I have to look at the platform and then look at this list because they all have different names everywhere. I'm like, you guys are killing me. You're killing me.
Yeah.
Hogue, what you got?
Yeah, well, I haven't done any new videos on my channel of late because I've been playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, but also I have been in a number of episodes over on Last Stand Media, so you can catch me there if you are interested in those episodes. I think Alex is a subscriber, so he has seen me a little bit more often than some, but we talked about Ubisoft. We talked about things like the multinational union that was offered at GDC by the CWA, and those conversations are all available over there. Otherwise, I'm in the same place as always, YouTube at Hoaglaw, Twitter at Hoaglaw. Twitter makes me sad, people. People do not want to have fun with this fun industry and hobby of ours. They just want to grouse about things, and it makes me sad.
Counterpoint to that, go to Blue Sky. It is fun over there.
Correct.
I don't want to join another platform. The first platform I joined turned out the way it did.
He's discontented with the past and unwilling.
Come on, you can do this.
This is how you become a dinosaur, Hogue. This is how you get left.
Remember, you used AOL at one point in time. You can do this. I promise.
I used Prodigy.
Right. Prodigy's gone. Move to Blue Sky. Trust me. It's good. It's good.
Hogue is still hanging on to his MySpace account. That's what he's at right now.
Is that still a thing?
I had neither MySpace nor Facebook, I don't think.
MySpace is a big music industry tool now. Yeah, it's like major. I don't interact with it, but I have a friend in the music industry who says that it's like super popular there for whatever.
Oh, so they shifted their focus to music?
They've totally pivoted. It's just completely.
People know this behind the scenes, but I've really only gotten up to speed with even using a Discord server in the last month.
See,
So-
you did that too.
Yeah, see,
you
but
can do it.
these are the
But he
things
took
that I
forever.
do.
Blue
took
Sky
forever,
is
though.
literally the functionality wise of Twitter without all the bullshit. It's
Mhm.
so much better.
It's true.
It's
You
almost
don't have
too
to deal
positive.
with you don't have to
Yeah.
deal with an ED ad every 4 seconds or being forced to see a certain person's tweets even though you don't follow them.
Yeah.
I'm on both. You can find me as Ty Guy Travis everywhere if you care to follow me. You really shouldn't though. I'm not a pleasant person. But I've got lots of content coming up. I've got a review coming out this week on the 26th of a Souls-like game called AI Limit. I've got a preview going live tomorrow of a game I can't talk about. I've got a preview going live on Tuesday of a game that has not been announced yet. And I've got previews going live all this week and next week and the week after of stuff and things. So go to IGN.com if you want to see more of that. And thank you for listening.
Nice. No, I'm looking forward to it. You haven't even told us what that is yet, so I expect some DMs here shortly.
I will not be telling you.
On the SG side of the house, like you said, Shadows review up from Alex on the site right now. We've got Adam Fall able to show the whole game because we follow rules because we're small and have to do that. That is going up tomorrow from Lewis. You'll have my Expedition 33 preview this week, someday this week, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, a lot of content. Also, I think review of Karma as well, the horror game we talked about. So a lot of things going live this week. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. So appreciate you swinging by. The funniest thing right here, Tyne says this is the best way to sell it. Blue Sky is Twitter without Twitter users. That should be enough to sell it. Done. There you go. It's the easiest way to sell it. MZ actually gives us a late member comment. Let's get to.
MZ has been a member for 29 months. Writes, Hiya at Hoglaw and all. That is a clover of some
Four-leaf
kind.
clover.
I don't believe that's 4-leaf though.
That is a 4-leaf clover.
4 leaves.
Wait, what does it show on your? Oh, okay, yeah, it's
I call
4-leaf
that a
on.
treble.
That's so funny. It's 4-leaf on Google, and then on this StreamYard, it's like a bush. It's like clearly not 4 leaves.
That's a
Yeah, it looks very weird. Look at the.
Yours must
Google
look, it
logo.
must look different from mine. That's
We're
a
all looking
4-leaf
at the
clover.
broadcast, right?
Yeah.
Insane. All right. Popping in and smashing that thumbs up. Fabulous.
Thumbs up.
Catching you live.
There you go. Fabulous catching live. Thank you very much. MZ. We'll call you MZ. That's easier. All right, let's go ahead and close this out. Thank you, everyone, for listening. As always, audio listeners catching us later. Thank you, Alex. Great to have you on again. We will see you next Sunday, of course. Enjoy your gaming. There is far too much of it to even keep up with. So whatever you're playing, whatever you enjoy, continue enjoying it. And we will be back next Sunday with more chatter. Until then.